do connect the dots, but then other folks, when they hear discussion about them connecting the dots, are dismissive and say, well, you have Trump derangement syndrome, and this is just the way he talks, this is all rhetoric, it means nothing.
Yeah, because to some extent, people on the left-hand side of the aisle freak out about Trump like it's a level.
Whatever the reason why, Marshall, the country is divided. So you can't say, well, people got to get off their asses and put a stop to this if we feel that this is a problem, and people need to get involved in the political process, when half the people are supportive of what's going on.
Half of the people are supportive but not involved in the political process. Ronald Reagan was right, so were the founders. You're only ever one generation away from losing freedom. And
nobody is arguing that point. Nobody is arguing that point.
Participating
right.
To the left or the right.
Right. You made that point. You made that point, and nobody is arguing it. I'm just addressing, it's up to the good, that people have to stand up to this if in fact it is a trend toward authoritarianism. And I'm saying a lot of people are in support of the president's policies. So what then? People stand up in opposition to it. The people in Congress are impotent to do anything about it.
Because their voters don't call them.
Maybe. Okay, Marshall. A number of people do call and write their members of Congress. People hold town hall.
Enough.
I agree, not nearly enough, Marshall. I agree. Nobody's saying that it is sufficient. I'm just saying there are a sufficient number of people in the United States of America who are supportive of the president's policies. Not everybody would answer. Not everybody would answer the question of the room. Yes. A lot of people would answer the question of the room. No. That's all I'm saying. So your admonition to King, I'm just trying to put it in a little bit of perspective that it's not quite as simple as you suggested. That's all I'm saying.
I just have to say, regardless of whether they agree with him, they don't agree with him, people don't take the time, they don't sacrifice.
Right, we all agree with that.
Yes. And if you have those people sacrificing their precious time to call their Congress people, I guarantee you Congress moves.
How many people were out on the streets of this country on No King's Day?
A lot. Could you tell me, other than Trump's a king, what they wanted? What did they want out of the U.S. Congress? What bill did they want? What measure were they asking for? Aside from Trump's a king, we don't like that.
Well, that's speaking to the topic at hand, that the people who are...
It speaks to the topic at hand, but if you're going to throw a protest and there is no way, that there is no instruction to Congress about what you want, then what point is the protest?
So you're suggesting that the members of Congress saw all those demonstrations in their own districts and didn't understand the point that the people were making, and they ignored...
I'm saying the protest didn't ask for anything specific. They simply said Trump is a king, which is fine for people to say. But if we want real implementation of real policy, you actually have to do the stuff that was done during the Civil Rights Movement, which was throw a protest with a proposed bill to hand to your legislators, which is not being done.
Marshall, a lot of those protests did have people that were clearly saying...
Oh, don't interrupt. Okay, hold on. First of all, I will moderate the room, Roger. And secondly, Roger is right. Don't interrupt. Okay, we're going to stop this line of discussion because
we're fine.
It's 6:08, and I want to get everybody who's on the stage an opportunity to speak. And I didn't intend for this to be a back and forth, an argument, a tit for tat with you, Marshall. I was just trying to put things in a little bit of perspective. And I guess I shouldn't do that because whenever I do, it becomes a big brouhaha, and then the poor people who are waiting get really frustrated, and it's not fair to them. So I just won't challenge anything and move on. Simon.
Okay, so I started off by actually looking at what the definition of authoritarian state meant. Yeah, and I'm not going to go into the definition, but one of the things is a lack of meaningful democratic process. Well, the bottom line is Trump was elected, as you say, by half the nation. Yeah, and there are lots of examples of authoritarian leaders who have been elected. Yeah, and I think it was Scott that mentioned, is it Oban in Hungary? Hungary is known as a poor democracy in the EU, and they have a great phrase, democratic backsliding. So I think the reality is, on the journey, there is democratic backsliding in evidence in the US. But I think the question has got to be, why do people, why did the half the nation vote for him? Yeah, the discussion, authoritarian state, I don't think that's the right question. Yeah, and I respect the room, obviously. I'm not trying to go back on what this discussion is about, but I think he knows that what his policies represent to the 50% that voted for him is more palatable than this discussion about authoritarianism.
Okay, Simon, thank you. There's not a week that goes by that somebody doesn't come in and take exception to the way I title the room, because it's off the mark and shouldn't be titled that way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a substantive contribution to the room. Not. Moose.
Thanks, Gary. I will keep this short, as there are many folks here and I may run away. So, yes, the country is allowed to vote. Respectfully to the previous individual, I'm taking voting away. However, I absolutely would say it is a major concern, and if I'm not mistaken, I think part of the sort of regime, if you will, authoritarianism, is not really dealing with dissent very well. And the example you gave of him actually threatening to deport the man who gave him $250 million. If that's not you're with me or against me, I'm not sure what else is. And of course, there were how many DOJ investigators were that had the audacity of doing their job and investigating him as they would any president for January 6th involvement. All gone, cleared house. It's like first week, I think, they were all fired. So yeah, 100%.
So maybe the challenge to the title of the room is that I just used the term authoritarian. I should have said dictatorship, because that's what dictatorships do. They purge themselves of allies who they view as dissenting. Look at the number of North Korean officials who allegedly have been fed to the pit.
Exactly.
Literally. Thank you for clearing that up for us. It's very beneficial. Christy?
Thanks, Gary. I have a couple of points that I wanted to make. One is to answer your question, not yet, but possibly soon. I think that there's a lot of factors in my observation of the years that have contributed to the rise of this possibility. I think both sides, Democrats and Republicans, are both authoritarian in their own different ways. And then our country split 50-50 as to which version of that they want. And, social democracy is one form of authoritarianism. I mean, there's, whether it's how you want to be taxed or you know, what kind of control you're willing to live under on each side of the aisle is both like economically, also socially. You know, I'm pretty liberal, but there are many people in this country who do not want to be politically correct and told what their free voice can say. So that's some kind, you know, policing people's thought process socially is, to me, whether I agree with that, you know, what their views are, that is a form, in my opinion, of authoritarianism. So to me, both parties have just totally broken down, and we have had an ideal climate for a rise of this, you know, and we haven't even, in my opinion, personally, like, experienced severe catastrophic economic depression for whatever reason, but COVID created a nice ideal climate for people to start to look for a parent government to take care of them in some way or implement policies that they agree with. Now, I think in general people underestimate the intelligence of certain leaders on both sides, and Trump particularly. I think he's very smart, or the people he also surrounds himself with. But my other question, because some people have brought up some points, and I only have like 3 more points to make. I'm not asking for anybody to respond to this, I'm just thinking out loud, like rhetorically, is how is this different than World War I and II? The Espionage Act. I mean, whenever, no matter who's in power, I mean, FDR did a lot of interesting things, and other presidents before him during World War I. Once, my always view, and I'm a professor and a teacher, high school teacher, is once the government decides something, whoever is in power, you're going to either get on board with it or not. And that's certain, in my opinion, certain things, like we have this idea that we do vote and everything. But lastly, just 2 more points, is one, a couple people mentioned, and as an educator, you know, getting involved. Well, high school is just basically pushing everybody through illiterate. That's my experience in general. I don't want to generalize. But you have another perfect situation in this country that so many kids are really not being educated, and they're just being pushed through because, you know what, you want your paycheck, you want your job, you're just going to push them through. And you have, number one, that, like a huge generation of young people, not everybody, that really is not literate and are also zombies on technology. So for me, I could see like, wow, it is a perfect recipe. As much as there's young people getting involved and protesting, you know, to the points that other people made earlier, you have a mass generation that has no clue. And I don't either. I was, you know, in some regard, but a lot more life experience. Now, the last thing I wanted to say was, I question this all the time, is when will I panic? Because my passport's ready. I will panic when the Supreme Court overturns gay marriage. If they do, and I hope they don't. But that, to me, is like, wow, you know, how many more other things that we've progressed? You know, I worry. You know, that's certain things, like massive things socially that we've progressed towards. And as like Project 2025 and all this stuff, when they really start, and we already saw that with women's reproductive rights, you know, I live in New York, so, you know, I could say, oh, that's great. New York is going to fight that and keep our own laws on the books. But I just want to say lastly, to land my plane, that is what I worry about, and what I'm kind of monitoring is like, one of these big things, when are they going to start to roll back other things to establish a very like conservative authoritarian system? Thank you, Gary, for letting me talk.
Christine, just so you know, the Congress in 2021 or 2022 passed a bill that got through the Senate and into the president's desk that made it a law that gay marriage was legal.
if they try to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, they're going to have to deal with Congress making a law to make that legal. I can't tell you how they'll work it out, but I just thought you'd find that interesting.
Thanks, Marshall.
You just ruined her travel plans. I can't believe you did that. What a killjoy. Roger.
Yeah, Gary, it is a pleasure to be in your room. You are the Bob Woodward of Clubhouse, and we all love you. Also want to say that I thought Christine, despite the fact that I disagreed with a couple of her points, I think that she's one of the more thoughtful liberals that are on this app, and I wish that she would attend more rooms because she always has great contributions. I just wanted to add a quick submission here in regards to conversation that was happening. Christine touched on it, that I think we're being a little short-sighted when we ask if we're becoming an authoritarian state and then assigning all this blame to Trump. One of your mods, Scott, who I love dearly, he said that this is unprecedented, and I just like to talk about how it's not unprecedented, and that how we've always had authoritarian, instincts and behaviors from presidents. And I'll just run through a few very brief ones, and then I will remove myself from the stage. Harry Truman attempted to seize private steel mills during the labor strike. It was ruled unconstitutional in Youngstown versus Sawyer. Barack Obama targeting killing of a U.S. citizen without a trial. I'd say that's quite authoritarian. Andrew Jackson ignored the Supreme Court decision in Worcester versus Georgia and forced Cherokee removal. Trail of Tears, if you guys want to look it up. And then if you go into John Adams, the Alien and Sedition Act, I mean, we were authoritarian before it was hip. He criminalized speech that was critical of the government, allowed for deportation of non-citizens that he deemed dangerous. Particularly, he suppressed the political opponents, mainly the Jeffersonian Republicans, which actually led to him not being reelected, which was pretty cool. George W. Bush authorized warrantless wiretapping of Americans, bypassing the courts, created Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, which held people without trial for years, and used enhanced interrogation techniques, which some people would refer to as torture. Richard Nixon had an enemies list and abused federal agencies. I don't think we have to go too deep into Richard Nixon to know what his problem was, but he did turn the state power into a tool of personal vengeance. Everybody knows that. Woodrow Wilson, Espionage and Sedition Act, which Christine brought up, which criminalized anti-war speech and dissident versus during World War I. Eugene Debs, you would think that somebody like myself, a capitalist, would support the fact that Eugene Debs was sentenced to 10 years for speech, but no, I'm consistent in my defense of free speech, and even a socialist like Debs, I think, was unfairly jailed. I think that's a clear example of authoritarianism. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the guy interned Japanese Americans, but a lot of you Democrats think that he's the greatest president of all time, based on their ethnicity. Not any individual guilt, no trials, property was seized, but you guys think he's one of the best. And then last but not least, Abraham Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus. You could say that, there was a civil war going on, but the Chief Justice at the time ruled it unconstitutional, and Lincoln ignored it. I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that I agree with Marshall that authoritarianism has been present well before Trump, and there's much more clear examples of authoritarianism. That being said, I do not support the big beautiful bill. I do not support many of the things that Trump is trying to do. I'm glad that Elon Musk is talking about starting another party to challenge and primary the people that will support this bill. And the final statement I will make is that you can't have a bill that is both big and beautiful. It can either be big or beautiful. It cannot be those two things simultaneously. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Roger. Brent. Brent. There you are.
I surprisingly mostly agree with Roger. We have had multiple times where we have had abuses of the Constitution in the U.S. But kind of that somewhat misses the point, because kind of the question is, are returning to an authoritarian state now. And I think that's interesting. I think the way to think about it is in terms of probabilities. You know, we do have a president that is in violation of due process due process for citizens. You have a cult of personality. Like, I don't think the Wilson analogy or even the FDR analogy kind of captures the same sort of cult of personality. So you see some basic building blocks, I would say, of authoritarianism. With that, I kind of think the way to kind of think about this is what are the likely outcomes and what sort of probability do you put on those likely outcomes? I think the most likely outcome is that we essentially reset. Trump loses the next election. Things that used to be norms become laws. So the executive is more boxed in. I think, if I put a probability on it, I think that's the most likely outcome at like 85%. You have another option in which you kind of go the way of Hungary, in that you still have elections, but through democratic processes. And Marshall I think Marshall did miss the point, because sometimes a democracy can't be quite repressive to the people, and there's multiple cases like that, in case of Hungary, in case of others, where you do have the form of democracy, but you have kind of widespread repression of dissenting voices, etc. So I think another possibility is that we kind of go the route of Hungary. It's interesting to note the popularity of Hungary among a lot of the more conservative elites. I think the final possibility is we go straight authoritarian. I don't think the current administration. You have people like Peter Thiel and others who have directly questioned the utility of democratic elections. So, this might have been the last free election that we've had. We'll see, but I think that is a real possibility. I'd put a probability of about 5% on that. So, I just think it's a matter of kind of thinking about kind of the plausible pathways a society could go, and then thinking through what are the risks and what are the likelihoods of each of those outcomes.
Thank you, Brent. We'll now go to David. And there are people trying to get up on the stage. I'm not going to get to you. It's going to be David, Steve, Jules, and Merrill because of time constraints.
Gary, yes, the title I think is very spot on. Well, academics have chimed in. There's a survey of more than 500 political scientists called the Bright Line Watch, and they're saying that based on a 0 to 100 range of 0 being complete dictatorship, 100 perfect democracy, Trump's somewhere in the middle at about a number of 55 out of 100 range. So they say that's a massive drop based upon these expert opinions of what a liberal democracy should look like and act like. We've seen, he's in the thrall of guys like Putin, dictators who've been running their countries with an iron fist. I think he would like to enjoy as much power as he can wield from the executive branch. We're seeing him not honor court opinions. We're seeing the Supreme Court not go above and beyond what they feel as of their right to check the power of the executive. So, is this authoritarian? Well, I mean, the history sort of speaks to that. What he does with that power, I think, is ultimately the question, and how our rights as citizens of this great nation are in fact impacted. There's another author named Steve Levitsky. He wrote a book called How Democracies Die. and he's saying that there's a lot of things that are reversible. But if the pattern continues and the nation doesn't check itself somehow, then when do we get these rights back if they're slowly clawed away? And I think that's the fear here. We saw this in the case of not necessarily the executive, but the way that Roe v. Wade was pushed to the brink and then challenged by the Supreme Court. Those are rights that are gone now. They're talking about chipping away at gay rights for marriages. So there's no perfect system here. I think ultimately at the end of the day, you mentioned the voters voting for this. I don't know if they necessarily could see the outcome of the way rights would be chipped away as they're going into the ballot box. I don't think at the end of the day.
You don't think that his first term in office gave us insight into what would happen this time? You think this is completely an acceleration of anything that might have occurred in the?
Well, I'll say so to your point, I think for a lot of Americans, the reason they're for a guy like Trump is because he's not going to wield this very power against them and who they believe they are in terms of the constituency of President Trump. And an example of that is if I'm white and I live in the Deep South, well, no ICE guy's going to come storm my business and try to put me in handcuffs if I go out and protest per se, or they're not going to question whether or not I've got any illegals in my business. And so I think there's this class collaboration at play here. There's always been this class collaboration at play from the founding of the country to the Civil War. So I think there's a lot of Americans that don't feel that this authoritarianism is anyway going to impact the way in which they live in this country. And so I think there's a divide there with regard to how bad it could get for me, right? If you're a black American and you've enjoyed great rights, you're not as afraid anymore to get pulled over by the police because there's things like the Miranda rights and other things like that they got to read you. And they can't just haul you off to jail without giving you a phone call. I think for people that have had the worst of this country against their rights, hard won, to Marshall's point about civil rights marches and legislation backing those civil rights marches, people that haven't enjoyed full rights to the extent of the law, either due to the fact that they're female, gender, skin color, what have you, then I think we're absolutely terrified at what could possibly happen. So, and we also see this around the world, Gary. We see nation states, first world friends of ours, warning their citizens not to travel here. There's warnings out there. What does that say about us as a democracy? As Our Lady Liberty stands in New York Harbor, greeting those passengers flying here for the first time, worried whether or not the immigration officers are going to look at their phone and not let them in the country. So this is serious backsliding based upon how this country was founded and embraced, in terms of the liberal freedoms that we've always offered to some extent. So I'll end there and let others speak. Thank you.
Thank you, David. In the chat, it was suggested that there is a legal process for deporting American citizens. I don't think that's true. I've been doing some of my little, cursory research over the time of the last several speakers. I'm looking at the Immigration and Nationality Act, which allows for the removal at the order of the Attorney General of any alien that's among a class of deportable aliens. And then that's something I don't want to get into right now, what those classes might be. So it says alien, it says nothing about citizen. And there have been repeated rulings by the Justice Department's Board of Immigration Appeals saying that U.S. citizens are not subject to removal. In 2019, a person who is a United States citizen is not subject to removal under the immigration laws. Now, there is an exception for naturalized citizens who obtain the naturalization through fraud. In that case, denaturalization may occur and then deportation becomes possible. But that's the singular exception. That being said, I don't think, given the recent events that have occurred where the administration took actions that were then viewed later as unconstitutional by various courts, that this administration, I don't think there's anything that would suggest that they would not attempt to deport an American citizen, whether it's Musk or somebody else. Can you imagine putting Elon Musk on a plane and then his attorneys go before court and the court says that you cannot deport him, and the Justice Department says, but Your Honor, the plane is already outside of U.S. airspace, and so your order is null and void. You have no jurisdiction over. You can't order that plane returned. Happened, right? It happened. Not to an American citizen, but it happened. Interesting to think about as a possibility. Steve.
Yeah, Gary. I think there's a large component of this that is I'm getting my ox score type thing. Like we talk about the immigration system and the laws surrounding it, and you see discussions about, especially highlighted in Los Angeles, the way that it's talking about these guys. Well, if you don't like the laws, you need to change the laws. You can't have a law on the book and have someone enforcing a law and call the people enforcing the law authoritarians. And I think there's a large portion of this that anytime that something doesn't go a particular way in the Supreme Court, or there's actions that people have failed to take action on, like enforcing the law on immigration, and then someone actually enforces it, that we automatically go, oh, well, they're becoming a bunch of dictators. No, there's laws on the books. There's a process that people go through, and if you don't like it, that's what elections are for. Elect someone, move the legislation forward, and get the law that you want. But don't stand on the corner yelling authoritarian when there's laws that's been passed and people are carrying out lawful orders to enforce what the Congress has sent through the legislative process. So I think that part of this is I'm getting my ox gored in a way that's making me feel uncomfortable. I don't like it, and so I'm going to yell authoritarian. And, does Trump have some tendencies to go that way? I think he has some tendencies to want to get things done quickly. I think that may collide with the U.S. Constitution occasionally, but to the degree and scope that I've been hearing people articulate, I think the two are at odds pretty despairingly. I think, if you think, well, what's he actually doing versus what people say he's doing, I'd say there'd be a good 50-point margin between the two ends of that. So I think there's a political component to this, and it's trying to be used to shape public opinion in a way that becomes advantageous. There's nothing new here. I'll land it.
I think that's a mischaracterization of the arguments that I've heard, Steve, respectfully. I don't hear people saying that the law should not be enforced with regard to immigration. I think the objection is to the manner in which the law is being enforced, and especially with regard to American citizens who on occasion are being incarcerated for periods of time by INS without regard as to whether they really are illegal aliens as part of their dragnet approach to meeting the quotas. So I don't think it's quite the way that I don't think that's the perspective of the people who have been speaking on the stage. And I'll let you respond.
Yeah, maybe that, there may be an element to that, but we had a floodgate effect that created this problem too. We just opened the borders wide open. We let
but nobody's arguing that.
Well, and what I'm telling you is, there's the whole thing in physics. Every action has equal and opposite reaction. That becomes political in nature too. You create a problem, and the problem is so acute that it takes more than normal procedures to correct the problem. It's like I go in the kitchen and make a big mess and walk away, and then someone comes in and says, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, you're just being overly sensitive. No, the place is wrecked. You wrecked the place, and now I'm here trying to clean up the mess that you created. Is the process perfect? No. But I guarantee you, we would not have the process in place that you see if it wasn't for the absolute chagrin that the American public looked at what happened to their immigration system for 3.5 years. And they just sat there in horror. And now there's someone actually trying to correct the problem. And maybe everything isn't perfect. But the mechanism that's being deployed is a direct reaction to what was allowed to occur. And I think if you don't want to see these things, then control things in a way that people don't get freaked out and say you got to do something.
So in your first commentary, you used the term lawful order, and I think that's a very important terminology to consider whether the agents are always acting lawfully or not. And two wrongs don't make a right. But thank you, Stephen. We'll go to Jules, Merrill, and Breyer, who fell off the stage and came back. We'll get the last word. Jules.
Hey, how you doing, Gary? Boy, did Steve steal my thunder. I was going to open up. I'm going to open up like I was going to do it. Becoming an authoritarian state is everything that open borders is. Open borders created this authoritarian state. It created it economically, educationally. Look what we opened up. Globally, people came in hating the United States. I mean, this was done on purpose. Drugs flowed, weapons flowed, sex trafficking flowed. We don't have overburdened medically. Our treasury's overburdened. The rumors were this was done for voting in the future. I think there's some truth in that too. And scientifically, we have lost our minds scientifically with men competing in women's sports. I think, and being forced.
So hold on, Jules. Are you saying that yes, we are becoming an authoritarian state, but hey, the reason for it is because we've had open borders? So it's Biden's fault that Trump is making us an authoritarian state? Is that what I heard you say, or am I misrepresenting? Am I hearing you?
By the way, I want you to know the last 2 times I spoke, you sent me in after we finished. You said something, and you said, "But Jules probably would not agree with that." And both times I would have agreed with it. So keep me on before you get rid of me. I'll answer your question. Yes, I think it started when the pen was making decisions for the country. Let's not forget, they weaponized the government against political enemies. They took to Trump how many courts? 15 courts, 15 challenges to him, everything he did in his books and records, and it was just ridiculous. He valued property too much. And, I mean, that's authoritarian. And let's not forget that Joe Biden dismissed college loans, which he wasn't supposed to do, and he openly said, "I'll do it anyhow." That's authoritarian. Yes, I say it started then. Even Obama kicked out illegal aliens. He had his own faults, but the authoritarian state started with Joe Biden. And believe it or not, I'm not blaming Joe Biden. There was a group of people.
The ability of the president to do that stuff is 245 years old.
That's what Joe Biden is, 245 years old.
No, you're missing my point, which is it's not Joe Biden's fault. It is the fault of the grown executive. Simply to blame it on Joe Biden is not being fair on us.
I'm blaming it on the Joe Biden administration, and that's fair and honest. You tell me where they opened the borders. Any other administration opened borders like this and brought in sex trafficking, drugs. You know, well, come on, weapons.
Okay, so we know that we've had a horrible problem with the border, and we know that the Trump administration has shut that down. The number of encounters with people trying to illegally enter the border was just reported to be at like an all-time low in recent history. Okay, fine. What does that have to do with the several examples that I mentioned at the top of our discussion? Prosecuting CNN potentially for doing a report on ICE block, prosecuting potentially election officials for computers that are not secure, deporting possibly Elon Musk, arresting possibly Mamdani if he becomes mayor of New York. What if any of these examples that I use? Let me ask a question before you answer it.
Go ahead.
What do any of these examples that I used during my opening salvo in explaining the question of the room have to do with the open border problem that the Trump administration has mitigated?
Well, I think Trump is reacting to it. By the way, you just said a lot of possibly. Possibly doesn't mean anything.
I understand that, but this is the federal government. Sometimes comes from the.
You think
but go ahead if you want to finish my point for me. I didn't know I was going to say. I didn't know I was going to say overreaching, but thank you for telling me what I was about to say, because I'm clearly not articulate and can't explain my position myself. This is the federal government, sometimes from the mouth of the president himself, floating these propositions. And by the way, the Justice Department has been charged with investigating some of this. So, yes, I said possibly, and I didn't say we were authoritarian. The question was, is the United States becoming an authoritarian state? And your answer to all of this is, well, yeah, but it's Biden's fault because of all the people who crossed the border. That's your answer to it. I see your answer, and correct me. I'll give you one more time to straighten my ass out on this as a total non sequitur.
I'm not trying to straighten your ass out, Gary. I was actually.
If I'm wrong, if I'm wrong in saying that what you are proposing is a non sequitur, tell me how I'm misunderstanding your position.
No, I think it started the Democrats and largely the Biden administration. As you know, I was a federal agent. I was an IRS agent, not in the exempt organization the department, which had authoritarian rules to stop the Republicans. Okay, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. The lowest learner fiasco. I mean, that's authoritarian. That was during, I think, during the not the Biden administration, it probably was the Obama administration, but still, that was an authoritarian act. And, you know, I just see Trump reacting and being challenged by lower courts who have no right to challenge executive decisions. Marshall's not saying anything? Okay. And I think authoritarian, I wasn't thrilled with what happened January 6th, but I know a lot of those people did not receive due process. and they couldn't see lawyers. They were locked in solitary.
That's absolutely not true, Jules. I'm going to move on. There was due process. You know, you may not agree with the manner in which those individuals were prosecuted. I'm sure you clearly do not agree with the decisions of the various courts. But to suggest that they were not afforded due process and were not allowed to consult with attorneys when in fact, in every case, they were represented by counsel is a total misrepresentation of the facts. You could say that the prosecutions were overreach. That's a legitimate argument that some people might agree with or might not. But the facts that you attempted, you have your right to your opinions, but not to your facts. And that was totally unfactual. Merrill and Breyer, I'm sorry I can't get to you. And I'm going to try to get both Merrill and Breyer in because I'm in my drop dead time that I got to be out the door.
I'll go fast. I'm not going to bloviate. I will hang on to something you said about the press. I really do deeply resent Trump going after the press. And you can tell me, oh, Obama did this, or so-and-so did that, or so-and-so did that. I don't care.
Well, as a matter of fact, I think you were with me on the previous platform. I think you were. If my timeline is accurate in my mind, when Rosen was attacked by the Obama administration, and I was very strong in my condemnation of that. What happened to Merrill? Oh, you're
I was going to say, maybe her phone died, but she's here.
I don't know why she fell off the stage. But, you know, so to say that, well, because Biden did it, you know, that justifies or gives us reason to ignore that Trump is doing it is, again, doesn't, you can't, I don't know, I just don't even know how to respond to that kind of argumentation. So thank you for bringing that.
I also want to say something about this choice of articles. You mentioned that. I posted something, and I rarely do, by the way, in the critical thinking forum because I don't want to argue. But I did post something, and somebody jumped on it and said, "How could you post something from the Huffington Post? You know, blah 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 blah." I don't care. People say the Associated Press has a bias. Everybody talks about the biases. How about just talking about the facts? Take a look, read the article. If it's factual, why do you care? If it's got a bias, as long as it's factual. And then you do what you want with it, but you've got the facts. So that's something that really matters to me. Coming into office and saying, and wanting to destroy government institutions and to destroy the press, that is the very beginning of authoritarians or dictatorships. That does matter to me. So that is something that I pay attention to. And lawlessness. You know, we had Bill Barr said lawlessness. He wanted a president who was lawless. We think we're getting one right now. I think it's just about, and I'm ashamed of our Supreme Court for saying that a president can commit crimes as long as he's doing it as a president. That troubles me. There's a lot. The borders, okay, yeah, we've heard that before. That doesn't change how they are. That doesn't change that very quickly. You're trapping people. They are going to court. They're showing up in court for the process that is the legal process for them. And then right during that hearing, Trump dismisses the hearing so that their process is dismissed and they walk out of that courtroom and ICE is right there. And I don't like that. That one bothers me. And by the way, nobody can say, oh, Merrill's a Democrat, because not declaring that right now. Then there's so many other issues that, and did he get elected? Honestly? Well, why do you think he's elected now? But you have all these people that you want to run for office that are election deniers from before. I'm not quite understanding that. And I don't understand why law should be enforced against somebody who is violence against officers, but not against January 6th. That's it. Those are just some of the things that trouble me. And yeah, I do think we're leading in that direction because I think we have a president who wants to be a dictator or an authoritarian. And by the way, Marshall, if you review the April 5th, I believe it was April 5th marches, those were not about being a king. Those were hands off. I was at one. I cannot tell you how many Trump supporters I met, and they did not want anybody touching Social Security. They didn't want Medicare touched. They didn't want Medicaid touched, and I cannot tell you how many Vietnam veterans I met who said he does nothing for veterans. So it's an eye opener. And it is something to consider. And also, if you're going to tell people to go and talk to their congressman, tell their congressman to have town hall meetings. Thank you.
Yes, they need to have town hall meetings. I don't disagree. My point was more people should call and write, and they should be obnoxious about it. There was a dude who had an issue with Congress. He lived in Alabama. This was during the 1980s. And this guy wrote a letter every day to Congress. It was so many letters that Congress ended up having to, this is a particular congressman's office, ended up having to bring postal boxes full of letters to their congressman. And that moved their congressman to do something. Too many people in America, Merrill, don't do that. Now, some of them because they don't have time, but a lot of people because they don't want to make the sacrifice. If you sacrifice your time, you have to choose other stuff. A lot of the time, people don't want to choose the other thing. They want to do what they're doing, which I don't think is malicious in their intent in any way, shape, or form. But if people don't do that, then the very last check the founders expected to have doesn't exist. So.
The only thing I'll say to you, Marshall, I agree with that, but I want to tell you something. There are a lot of people that do reach out, and they don't always get listened to. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate.
Oh, 100% agree. You are on the exact same page with that. I'm not saying the system can't sometimes disincentivize people. My point more is the more you have, the more likely the change. But I grant you, if you don't get paid attention to, it's going to zap a lot of your willingness to stick around and do the work. In particular, if you feel like nobody's paying attention to anything you have to say.
So we both agree on, but we each agree on what each is saying. Thank you.
So, Meryl, you mentioned the January 6 rioters. I just want to point out that a January 6 rioter who was convicted of encouraging violence against the police and then was pardoned by President Trump has now been given a position in the Justice Department. Breyer, you get the last one.
Yeah, it's hard to be an American right now if you have strong opinions on the rule of law, justice, consistency, and anti-authoritarianism. I don't know if anybody else feels like they're in kind of a surreal world where they hear people arguing for individual rights, states' liberty, personal freedoms, and then when a president threatens to strip a lawful U.S. citizen of their citizenship and deport them, I tried to look and find any example from history where this has happened, and I couldn't. There have been presidents that have argued with the courts, certainly, and dusted up, but somebody the other day said, it seems unfair that Trump has had so many laws struck down. The irony is he has had more laws struck down by the judges he appointed himself and selected than any other president in the first 6 months if we ignore all the others. The people he says, if he has good temperament and judgment, the people he's selected are saying he's violating laws in an unprecedented way. Violent disregard for the U.S. rule of law and law enforcement, quoting from a judge he selected and put to the bench. I tried to find any example in history of a president threatening to deport U.S. citizens. These are the moves authoritarians make. Because, earlier there was a comment that we don't know what these people wanted. I live streamed on Clubhouse and some of the people in the room my local protests. The messages were very explicit. There was a huge amount of messaging that ICE is becoming what every authoritarian leader uses. They don't have the same standards the police do. They're taking U.S. citizens and detaining them. I had a friend, born and raised in America, can't get any more American, never actually been out of the country in his life. Both parents were American. he was detained for, I think it was like 13 hours because he didn't have his birth certificate on him. English-speaking guy who works at a local store. Like, it was insanity. But he can't sue. It's not the police came and actually tried to back him up, and ICE told the police to back off. This is the secret police SS step. ICE hasn't existed for almost all of American history. They were formed in 2003 and
Prior, ICE is not the SS. I'm making that.
Hold on, Marshall. Hold on. ICE was founded in 2003 after September 11th with a specific metric, and it's been expanded. The reality is, and if anybody wants to look this up, we don't know what powers ICE has. We don't know what limits. They're not officers. They're kind of federal marshals. They're also not federal marshals at times. They operate with an open mandate, and you have a president who's bragging about locking these people up next to alligators for show. It is the question
Well,
is
they are
this
certified federal law enforcement, right? They are certified federal law enforcement officers.
They are certified, but we also have no standards for the certification. They don't have to show rank or insignia like the military. They don't have to show face and badge number like the police. You can't even know who detained you because it's considered confidential. What would be the difference between this and a secret police? They don't show their face. They don't show their badge number. They don't show their insignia. If you request any data, it's considered a state secret. They are rounding up brown and black people. They're rounding up brown and black people, and now they're stripping those people who are legally here of their citizenship status. Tell me what's the line now. The newest thing, Marshall, your party out of line. Marshall, your party's president just said that their next move is to strip lawful U.S. citizens of their citizenship, to go after Democrats and elected officials.
Well, I don't like it. There is a process.
I don't care if there was a legal process to execute a Jew in World War II. That doesn't make it right. This is wrong. You are, no, the point is the laws just need to be enforced at this point. The president isn't honoring those laws. You have more criminal
convicts. What ICE is able to do than change the laws around how ICE deals with people.
That is exactly what all those protests are calling for. They were saying, don't cut our Medicare, don't give tax.
One bill, a single bill that was changed.
Marshall, the first thing they said was don't pass the, quote, big beautiful bill. I love the name this president likes to use like a toddler. There were open signs everywhere. They were saying abolish ICE specifically. Roll it back, don't expand it. They were saying don't get us involved in foreign military conflicts. Now, by that argument, the civil rights protest, which largely said, how about in America, the formation of our country, no taxation without representation? This argument that they need to write more, express more. The truth is, Lisa Murkowski got hundreds of thousands of calls and letters and told the House not to vote for the bill she just passed and signed it anyway.
Lisa Murkowski.
And she said, hold on, Lisa Murkowski said, Lisa Murkowski said she is terrified of President Trump and democracy is at risk. When the party members of the president,
not representative of most of the Republican Party in any way.
Marshall, argue with Lisa Murkowski. Argue with her, a democratically elected senator. Argue with all the senators that have stepped down.
Right.
Argue with what all these people said before they've come.
Actual language to make law. Just protesting and holding up a sign.
Marshall, don't pass the bill. Don't lower taxes on billionaires. Give special write-offs for tinkers. Tax green energy. The anti-tax people want to raise taxes. This bill was a joke and a mockery, and the only way half the senators would vote for it is if they got special pork cutouts. We know what is going on. I understand it might hurt, but you and I have had conversations about your fears of this authoritarian leaders. So have most of the people here. The reality is this is authoritarian. We don't need to stay becoming, it's there. Is it all the way into this? There were still laws honored in World War II Germany and Italy. The scholars of authoritarianism on an international level used to say this might be too far. Now they're considering it a proto-authoritarian state. Now some people are saying it's crossing over. International countries are having to give warnings as lawful Canadians are detained. Canada's having to say, what happened to our citizen that died in your detention center? How did they die? What agency do we ask where it's not considered a state secret who died under your protection? It is already there. And this newest bill just hurts probably everybody in this room. I don't know if any of you are billionaires. There's 535 billionaires that will benefit wildly from this bill, but the average person will not. And certainly veterans and those suffering and children will benefit the most. It's estimated that 30 to 60,000 people will die extra a year, and there's no estimate that cuts that out. There's not a middle. In terms of this rhetoric that immigrants are so incredibly harmful, I don't think there's more than one or two indigenous people on here, because most of them were killed in the founding of our country. Maybe y'all cool with it, maybe not, whatever, that's up to you. But the reality is we all came here because somebody came here in our family without papers, or you're one of the few immigrants that have come here lawfully over the last 50 to 100 years. My family's been here for generations, and they came here from a boat. Great-grandfather came here from Greece with nothing, with one suitcase and $5. He didn't have any paperwork, he didn't have anything. Drove into the country, they're like, okay, you're here, you're good, get a job, go work. And now all of a sudden the people that did that show up to the courthouse, that are following all the rules, 6-year-old kids on chemo that have violated no laws, show up for their court hearings, and we deport them. And if anybody, Joe Rogan is going, are you fucking crazy? You're hearing mothers wailing with the most primal human screams at having their child as they're dying deported from the country. We've become so competitive, we've lost our humanity. This is authoritarianism. We don't need to become one when we already are one. And that's not to excuse anything from history that's also been authoritarian. We have done wrong before in America. We will do wrong again. And I'm so tired of the competitiveness. Let's blame Biden. Let's blame the last president. We only have the Congress, the Senate. We have the presidency. We have most of local law enforcement and most governorships. But you know what? It's the last old guy I said was senile and weak's fault that I'm oppressing all of you. I'm tired of it. And I'm an American. This bill will screw over everybody in my family. And the moves that are being made will screw over people that aren't in my family. And if y'all don't care about them, who are we as Americans? If you don't love every American and the people that are coming here to become Americans, which is how we all became here, then I question whether we're really Americans anymore, or we are the authoritarians internally that we claim to hate and want to fight against. And I'm really exhausted and burnt out, and it makes me question what I feel as an American when I see our actions. And I understand that we've all not been proud at some point of what America's doing. But if we can't sit here and own it, if we can't own the hypocrisy and the terror, and we can't see what's going on and who's being heard, then we've lost a part of ourselves. And I don't think we deserve this country anymore half as much as the immigrants that cross borders to come work, have a decent job, raise their kids, and have a generation that has it better than them.
Thank you.
All right,
I gotta close. I gotta close the room.
Oh, no.
Wait. Yeah, it's way too late. I'm sorry. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time. So until 5, or today till 7:07 p.m. So until 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow. For the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum, everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
I want to know if Combs, Fat Joe, and R. Kelly going to make an album.
They'll make them for on ChatGPT.
Okay, so Trent is doing fine. He sent me an article yesterday at 10:02 a.m. saying this is why many of the Mexicans I live with here want the border closed and support Republicans. But I never got a chance to really read it. So it was some massacre that happened in Trent's front yard. Yeah. Maybe he's still cleaning up body parts, but it's some massacre that happened and he sent it to me.
What's today's date again? July 2nd. The day we won't forget.
What I missed? I mean, how many?
No, I'm just saying, you know how we remember OJ when he was sentenced?
Oh, God.
So I don't think we will forget, we'll be like, oh, I remember.
I'm gonna forget this one.
I don't think this is OJ level though. honestly.
No, it's not, but we're adults. Well, I know you guys are old. You know, you guys are really old. You know why? Because CEO be acting always young, like we're old. Because I'm still in my 30s. I don't know about y'all. But what I'm saying is that with OJ, we were younger than with this case.
No, it was that. This was like it was televised. It was like everybody was like very invested. It was just like,
we had to be in the clubhouse.
And there wasn't as much going on during OJ. Like, I felt like competing with it as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a double murder.
Because it was crazy. Because like Geraldo, he had an hour show just dedicated to the OJ trial every night for like the entire trial.
And that's because a black man murdered a white woman. Now look, if it was him murdering his first wife, y'all please, it would have been on the 11 o'clock news, the last story.
That's a fact.
But sure, I mean, yeah, anyway, I'm not about to go down a rabbit hole.
Hold on.
All right, also we have the white Bronco chase that everybody watched. I mean, it was a whole thing.
Well, today last night in the Bronx, a Jamaican woman was stabbed to death. Did you guys see that?
No.
No.
Yeah, 40. She was 40 years old. Tamara, first name Tamara.
And what happened to that white guy that murdered that black girl he met online and they went out? And didn't he chop her body up? We ain't heard shit about that. Remember that?
There was 2 incidents back to back.
That beautiful.
That was in the bag. That they put the bodies in the bag.
Let me go look that story up. We ain't heard a peep about this story. He was?
He was found guilty.
And did he get 2 life sentences and a double execution order?
I don't know what the sentence was, but it was, we could probably look it up. I think it was probably got 25 to life, right?
I don't know, but she was gorgeous. And why he went out with her and then chopped her ass up, I do not know.
Oh, Dr. A.G., I'm not sure if they arrested the guy from last night. I don't have that up
Oh my God.
information. But okay, so it was her boyfriend. Didn't they arrest? That's crazy.
I think that's what they said. He stabbed her up in the apartment, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah, I think they arrested the boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I read.
Freaking savage.
And she had like 2 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So they're saying in the news, New York Post, that this Diddy case cost $10 million to bring him to trial, which I'm going to go read more on that. That's crazy if that's how much it costs. And,
Brian, you off the mic.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Of course, Judge Mathis got to say something. You know that, right? You know he can't go without. Let me see. Let me play this through this. Hold on.
Now you know that John Diddy Combs has been convicted of interstate transportation of prostitutes, two counts, and has been denied bail. Although I really am concerned about the assaults against the women, particularly disrespecting black women as such, we must go with what he has been convicted of and respect the jury. And as I had predicted, he should be convicted after hearing and closing arguments of only the 2 counts of interstate transportation of prostitutes. We'll see
excessive?
For each, yeah. That's what they're saying for first-time offenders.
So worst case scenario for him, he's going to be in prison a year. That's basically it. He's going to get a year, basically.
But can you just not run them together? I mean, this is now if that happens, I'm really not gonna be feeling well because that for a first offender, 24 months from a 10-year max.
21 months to 27 months.
Yeah. So and you run those concurrently, and you assume you're gonna get out early a little bit. So yeah, like 18 months. Yeah.
This judge is gonna run them consecutive.
But that's
You think he's gonna run it consecutive?
Yeah.
But his lawyers can get that turned over because there's no precedent for them doing that. Like they always running them consecutively.
They run consecutive sometimes depending on the severity of the crime. They can do that. He can appeal, but he probably not gonna win.
But he got
especially after his lawyers like admitted that he's violent. Like yeah, he's an abuser. I don't know. The judge could determine that they have to run consecutive so that it meets the measure of the crime.
And I guess they're gonna have, since they were pouring baby oil over themselves and with the weird ass T-shirts in front of the courthouse, people are just strange. I guess they're gonna have a baby oil, not a baby party, but a baby oil party when he gets out. I mean, it's just not enough for me. It's just not enough time. I know it doesn't matter how I feel, but that's wild, absolutely wild. So I hope he serves every fucking minute in hell.
I guess everybody on social media is talking like the men on Clubhouse. Hold on, I got another one for you to read. I mean, I have another one for you to listen to.
It's all talking about parole. Guess what? That's off the table now. The worst he's going to get, no matter what it is, as an exit date. And because he has no criminal history, and because he turned in his passport before he ever was arrested, he turned in his passport and gave it to the U.S. government, claiming he's a flight risk today is not going to work because it did not work in the beginning. He turned in his passport. P. Diddy did some horrible things as a horrible boyfriend to Cassie. But the jury rejected those who testified in this case to make this man out to be a monster. He did some bad things, yes, but he's not the monster the U.S. Attorney's Office tried to portray him as being. They overcharged. This was overkill, and the jury rejected it. And the proof of that is, before they even gave it to a jury to deliberate, they started dropping charges because even the judge knew that the prosecutors had went too far. This case should have never been brought the way it was brought. Now, if they wanted to put him on trial for being a horrible boyfriend, a womanizer, a man beat of a female, he's guilty of all of that. But at the end of the day, that's not what happened here. They put charges against this man, hoping that the hard ones would stick to sensationalize somebody's career. And in the city of New York, I'm not surprised. In New York, I'm not shocked by this prosecution, but the jury stood strong. They rejected that without parole. Guess what? That's off the table now. The worst he's going to get, no matter what it is, has an exit date. And because he has
That's it.
Mel, who is that bitch ass? Who is that bitch ass?
He's from Fox, this black guy, I believe. This says Fox.
Black guy.
It says Fox. Hold on. Fox Face Off is called?
Who the freak is that?
Fox Face Off, it says.
I'm gonna look him up. And he's talking about he was a horrible boyfriend. Let's just see. He's showing who he is.
It says Fox Face Off. I'm looking at the chat so you can look at it.
That's the thing. Like, they keep admitting that he's a violent person. that's not gonna work to his advantage.
But you know what,
And his
Doctor?
lawyers even argued that that's gonna come back to haunt them, I think, in the
With my-
sentencing too.
The problem that I'm having with this language is they're trying to normalize make it normal. Oh, he was a horrible boyfriend. That sounds so, innocuous. Oh, he's a horrible boy. He is a fucking demon. Were you guys watching the same shit I was watching? A horrible boyfriend? That's what we're calling it now.
Yeah, that's not a good strategy.
He was literally raping his employees. That's a horrible boyfriend. He was literally supplying drugs that could kill someone at parties and not notifying, whatever, these special champagne bottles, all the other tricks of the trade. That's a horrible boyfriend. The list can go on, and that's what we're calling them now, horrible boyfriends.
That guy on Fox Space, he's actually really funny. He's a really funny guy. He does a lot of basically they put him against usually some type of racist white guy, or white woman if he's not a racist doctor, and he'll present his black viewpoint on the thing. Most of the things it says is actually pretty accurate. It's not super nuanced, but he just does a good job of making racist look stupid. I would imagine in this particular instance, the white guy has been saying a bunch of shit about Diddy, and how he's got to do double time. And I mean, I don't think Diddy's a good guy. I just think the prosecution's case was really terrible, and a lot of the stuff he wanted to bring on, you can't get a RICO case on this. As much as we don't like abuse, and I'm one of them, to be black and to believe that this is what a RICO charge should be used for is to be black and believe in an incredibly unfair criminal justice system.
All right, I'm gonna play another video of another black man.
So maybe they should fire all the
Hold on, I'm gonna play another video.
You guys.
Wait, what was that?
Can y'all hear me? Hello? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, thank you.
Because I'm tired of seeing us black moguls get took down like that, bro. I'm tired of seeing us black people go against us black moguls like that. And I feel like if Diddy was a white man who done all this shit for people, I know he ain't paid people, but if he done all this shit for hip-hop, if he was white, there had so many white people out there protesting for this man losing his life behind a relationship, And people always was out there to the side. Nah, it ain't that. It's because I'm thinking about 7 children. Y'all thinking about one person. I'm thinking about these 7 kids who been in my kid's position. Not knowing if your daddy gonna come home or not is a burden on the child. So all y'all was like, no, I'm thinking about them damn children, man. So man, I'm glad he free, like I've been said, I don't feel he was guilty of nothing, nothing but domestic violence, But the court spoke, man. And I'm happy that dude children, man. I know his feeling right now, bro. I'm just happy for them children, man. So, get to sit your ass down somewhere. That's what you need to do. Grab Stephen J in your chair and get the on.
Was that Boosie?
Yeah, another man you got, not you, but a lot of you men look up to.
It doesn't have a command of it. You mogos, y'all
Not you, but we know there's a lot of quacks that do.
Mr. White
Come on, guys. And this is, I hope this is I hope this is teaching people some stuff.
right? Mothers that have daughters, mothers that have sons, fathers. Hopefully you guys wake up that you guys have daughters and sons. But this shit right here, they don't even feel like DV is a bad thing. Yeah, he's guilty of domestic violence.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
They're like, that's regular shit. Yeah, we all beat that bitch. We all beat our women's ass. It's like, wow. Hold your daughters tight, because this is a cold, cold world, guys. And there's men like that speak like that think like that are raising sons. We hear that shit every day on Clubhouse. And we can't protect our kids forever, let's be honest. Tomorrow we fucking die, and guess what? Our kids gotta stay out in this world. There'll be adults making their own decisions. Just talk to your kids. This is crazy.
Again, if Diddy is supposed to do the time y'all thought he was gonna do, almost every man on Clubhouse, because a lot of these dudes be, man, they ain't gonna tell y'all, but as a person who did some freak ass shit as a kid, nothing like Diddy, but who's been around, there's a lot of good husbands out here going to these freak parties and doing wild shit without asking enough questions about how the women got here, why are they behaving like this, like just wild shit. And, I just think it's very hard to get the type of charges they wanted to get on Diddy for this. You're going to get him on prostitution, you're going to get him on maybe drug trafficking, but that's probably pretty hard to do. I'm just glad that girl got her money before this, because I do think she deserves it. I think karmically, this is right. This is like the right decision. While I didn't think he'd do 40 years in jail for this, I do believe that this has been a pretty decent hit on his brand. Some mental stress, some emotional stress, some open conversations about what type of behavior you should expect in the industry and what should be respected, what should be tolerated, some awareness. But I did not suspect he was going to do very much time. There was no case for the things they were saying he did. It was very much trumped up in a very much New York type of case. So, but
this was the Al Capone.
But he did.
This was the Al Capone case.
You can't make an Al Capone case out of this. You can't make an Al Capone case out of getting a bunch of whores and drug addicts at a party to do wild shit to your wife. It's just you're not going to get a RICO on that. That's a crazy. People should be mad at the prosecution.
No, wait. They
tried to
get. Wait, I think they tried to get Al Capone on RICO. They didn't get him on a RICO.
No, what I'm saying is the RICO is made for someone like Al Capone. It's for a criminal enterprise. It's just not enough on this case to even merit that it is a criminal enterprise.
I don't know why.
I agree.
I just don't understand. For the life, let me finish this. For the life of me, little on me, I don't know why the DAs did not come over to Clubhouse and open up a room for all the Clubhouse attorneys to get consultations, because hell, y'all smarter than the motherfucking. Let me start pinging these motherfuckers in and tell them y'all should, next time you guys decide to bring any charges against anyone, come to Clubhouse first, because we got the best of the best motherfucking lawyers on this stage. That's what I'm getting ready to do.
Listen, they just ascended Diddy to God tier dustball status. Like, being a RICO is like going Super Saiyan as a rapper.
So what is?
They didn't even give him this clout.
You don't know. So what was Al Capone's enterprise?
He
was in the mob, but they finally got him for tax evasion.
She's talking.
Like an alcohol and prostitution.
What was it?
Sex trafficking. Yeah, sex trafficking and bootlegging, and then also the big one was
why
money laundering.
is that an enterprise in trafficking for prostitution, distribution of drugs, and sex trafficking? Why is that not an enterprise?
One, they did
Let me respond to that. Hold on.
Listen to what I'm asking. Hold on, everybody. I'm asking.
You being thirsty, bro.
Hold on. I'm asking the person who said Al Capone, it was right to get if they charged him with the RICO, but it was not right to charge him with the RICO. And I'm trying to figure out what is the distinct. That's my main point. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what's the distinction, because Al Capone had no company at all. He was an individual person.
Okay, so I understand the question. It's important to remember that they didn't get Al Capone on that charge. So even to the standard that Al Capone, I mean, I can only answer your question if you listen to the answer. We don't have to talk. You don't want to hear it.
Are you good? Because then I can answer articulate. If you're not going to answer.
I can't answer, but every time I try to answer it, she just starts talking over me. It's not that serious. I didn't win the case for Diddy, so you're not gonna put your stuff on me. I can tell you what I think, but if you don't want to hear what I think, then we don't have to waste time.
Who are you talking to?
Patty, I was trying to talk to you. As soon as I started talking, you started saying something like this. So I just late. I had a long work day. I just don't.
That's talking to you.
You're not talking to Patty.
I don't know what's going on.
Who was the one that asked about the RICO thing?
I asked the RICO question. No, that was
Dr. AG. Okay, my bad.
That was me.
So Dr. AG, it's important to remember that they did not get a guilty verdict on RICO for Al Capone.
I got it.
Okay, you got that part. It's also important to notice that, oh my God, come on, AG.
The charge out
AG.
the RICO Act, if I'm not mistaken.
AG, I was trying to get there, but you're not giving me, AG, you're not giving me a chance to answer it. This is crazy.
Said. And so what I'm trying to figure out is
can y'all hear what's happening right now?
That you're making between Al Capone to
I'm trying to
and Green's quote unquote criminal enterprise.
Her question is longer than she's allowing me to answer.
Because there's no correlation when the RICO Act didn't, what she's saying, it didn't exist in the 1930s. It didn't come until around the 1970s, bro.
I know but someone said Al Capone got off on a RICO. I didn't say that. That was Brian.
Now this nigga say he didn't say it. Can you mute up so I can answer the question?
Okay. I'm trying to say, holy shit, y'all. Holy shit, y'all. Hey, somebody's... Oh, that's what's happening, AG? Okay, then
I'm sorry. My phone keeps going out. Okay, so let me say this again. I'm not concerned about what Al Capone was convicted of. That's not my concern. What I'm asking is about your statement that RICO, even though RICO is new, it wasn't in the 30s, the idea of a RICO would have worked for somebody like Al Capone.
It's very hard to establish. I'll be quick. AG.
Okay.
It's very hard to establish that what Diddy had going was a criminal enterprise. You'd have to establish that I'm still going. You'd have to establish that the business itself. You'd have to establish that the business itself was oriented around the criminality. You'd have to argue that he had certain type of people whose sole function was to commit crimes. And then you'd also have to establish...
It doesn't have to be their sole function. It could be a dual function.
There could be a dual function as well. But usually, like, some of the things that they use to establish that a criminal enterprise is occurring is like stuff like money laundering. Stuff like actual, like, profiteering from the business.
But that's not what's in the statute. That's not what's in the statute, though, articulate.
So you think he was you think he should have been found guilty of running a criminal enterprise?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you explain why you think that?
For the same reason that Al Capone should have been.
You ain't shit, Doctor. I know I'm mad at y'all too. But I'm telling you,
it's the same reason. And it's because his business, right? His business was the illegal trafficking in liquor, illegal gambling, illegal. He did some murders,
Every person that does illegal gambling and gets prostitutes,
let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. And he did those 3 predicate crimes under the auspices of maintaining power and control over his sector, whatever his little sector was. So yeah. I don't think
from an organizational stand, what was the function of the business that you would have
Sean Diddy Combs is his business. Sean Diddy Combs he is his enterprise. Sean Diddy Combs is his
enterprise. That's not going to win a RICO case by saying that, though.
You can't.
The mafia did that. They had an outfit. It's not like they actually
have. It's not just having an outfit that makes it.
They had a boss. They didn't have an actual. They didn't have anything. They had like
Masons on a RICO.
But I'll catch
So
couldn't charge the Masons for being a criminal.
Hey, articulate. So I want to give you the scenario. Do you remember the 6ix9ine, the group that the 6ix9ine rapper was under? Remember them?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were charged with RICO also. You do know that, right?
People were found guilty.
Well, I don't know which ones was found guilty. Okay, yeah.
Most of them were found guilty.
Okay, right. So, right.
Thug would have been found guilty, and that's because there was a loss. Thug would have been the boss. He had people that worked for him, his soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And they
also had,
tried. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is what Articulate does, y'all. That's why I'm not arguing with him.
We know articulate.
You're trying to play the ref. Stop trying to play the ref.
I don't have the energy to argue with him. I'm just trying to finish so I can talk.
Go ahead, Brian. It's your turn.
So here's the problem.
No, Patty was still explaining it though.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm done.
Okay, so then I was explaining it. I was explaining it too.
Just let me know. I'm patient. I'm in traffic. I ain't tripping.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, then. So what I was trying to say was that Dr. A.J. was correct. They could have charged them properly for racketeering, but they would have had to charge other people, and that was the issue.
That's not true.
At the beginning, I'm like, why aren't you? Hold on. To be successful, they weren't successful. So I think my idea is better. So they could have charged more people for supporting this criminal enterprise, and there were more people involved. The assistant that was arranging the prostitutes, that was making the phone calls, the bodyguard that was involved in it. They could have even went after try to tie in the Tupac, but they could have tied in any of those other things to try to make it an actual enterprise, but they fell short of proving that.
So here's the thing. There are unindicted. Wait. There's unindicted co-conspirators in cases, right? I want to give you a scenario, and I always bring this case up because I know about this group really well. The Dr. Malachi Z. York case was a perfect example of one person being convicted in the case, and there were unindicted co-conspirators who testified in the case. Okay, but he went to jail on RICO. I want you to think about that for a second. And a lot of the same charges that Combs is charged with, so is he. We're talking about sex, moving people across state lines, the Mann Act. We're talking about possible drugs, tax evasion, things like that, right? He was charged and convicted of RICO. One single individual, not the other co-conspirators who were unindicted. So we don't need to have multiple parties being the defendant.
But they testified.
That's right.
But surely he wasn't making a business out of it. He wasn't making a business out of racketeering.
No.
And those things that you've listed.
They don't want to hear that.
To make it make sense, he's got to be making profits out of that activity.
That's not true. That's not true.
Okay. I'm just reading.
The statute. If you go back to the statute, it doesn't say that you need to make a profit out of the enterprise.
No, but it's one of the key aspects of proving that that's an enterprise that's running around a criminal organization.
Yeah, but
the easiest way to track you're running a criminal organization is to track profits that are serviced by the criminal organization.
You're right, but you're assuming that.
But then how did Young Thug get charged? How did Young Thug get charged? Because he actually got charged with RICO.
Because they had evidence of him actually murdering people.
Right, and which goes to the point.
He wasn't charged with murder.
Selling drugs, y'all.
Like, come on.
It wasn't about doing music business. It was about gang activity.
It's a literal
So here's the thing. Just because there's no profit involved does not mean you don't get the RICO. Remember, there are people who can make murder with no profit involved or commit arson with no profit involved.
What's the criminal enterprises being furthered? Like, what business is he furthering?
Having orgies.
Like with Young Thug, like, I just feel like personally, and I know y'all about to go crazy on me, I just feel like personally y'all really don't like him as a
are just like, oh my God, I think he's crap. But personally, I don't want anybody being convicted of something that they didn't prove. They did not prove it.
Sonny.
Like,
Sonny, here's
I don't want to argue with y'all. I said what I said. I'm listening.
I got you, but here's the thing. And I said this earlier in the room. Remember, there were other things that were I know they were brought up in the case that got suppressed, meaning that they did not make it to evidence. They did not make it into the trial. Okay? And so now you see.
You didn't do it. I said
Wait,
if you say you didn't want
hold on. Sonny, hold on. So what I'm saying is, I see why RICO wasn't stated as a charge in the case, and it got weakened when certain evidence were pulled out of the case that should have been there that would establish it even further. But they only needed two actually items to make it RICO, and those items were there, but the jury didn't bite. That's all.
Well, I got lost. Are we still talking about Diddy, or did y'all jump to Spud?
Yeah, we're talking about Sean Holmes, yes.
The issue, one of the strategies that Puff was doing was he was basically saying, I'm an entertainer, so the fact that we're intermingling funds is because that's my business. My parties were my business. The sex parties were a part of promoting Bad Boy and Ciroc and whatever else. So that was a clever plan. I just think they had a bad strategy to charge him.
Yeah, but then you still miss what I just said. I just said that there were other things in that case that were pulled out, right? That he was being charged with initially. I'm not talking about after the trial started. I'm talking about before the trial started. So the jury never saw it. It never got presented as evidence. So when you apply that, and you see why his RICO made sense. So I don't know what the argument could possibly be, but this is pretty simple stuff.
I mean, I'll be honest, Royal, you're not proving that he's guilty of racketeering right now. You say he's stuff, but you haven't said anything that seems to indicate that.
Wait, what?
Okay, so there was a confession by two individuals that talked about their work hour days, right? So one was his assistant. His assistant said on his 20-hour work hour days is when he would set up the sex parties, set up the hotels, get the prostitutes in or whatever the fuck it is. So that alone should have been RICO, right? Because he's an assistant working for Bad Boy. And then on his off time, he's getting paid to do illegal activity. Or no, it's not considered off time. He's getting paid to do illegal activities.
So you think anybody that organizes an orgy is running a criminal operation? Because
But again, earlier
most of that is illegal.
And then you can go ahead and do whatever you gotta do. But when we talked about this earlier, right, something that Dr. Agee made very clearly. What were the instructions that the judge gave? How did he define, what did the instructions look like? How the people understood the definition of RICO, and that's it, right? But I mean, it's clear that he was paying people with funds to do criminal activity. The guy clearly stated on the stand, and you can Google it, he would have 20-hour work days where he would be organizing, getting the hotels ready, getting the prostitutes in place. Like, this is illegal activities being paid by. It's
I hear that, but like, I know people who aren't rap moguls.
We're not talking about people, we're talking about Sean Diddy Combs, so.
Okay, I'm making a comparative. I know people who aren't rap moguls, some of them are CEOs, some of them are just regular, like, club promoters. And they'll get a hotel room, they'll have a bunch of women, usually one of them's their wife and her friends. They'll charge tickets for the hotel, some women will take a share of the profits, and they'll do a fucking sex party. I haven't been to these things in 10 years, but they'll do that. And it's not legal, but they do it, and they've been doing it for 40 years. Are we saying every married couple that does an orgy on the weekends with their friends and neighbors
no.
So you just said
are guilty of a
It is actually illegal.
So,
That's what y'all don't know. You're running it.
What
It
is
is
side gigs?
prostitution.
So CEOs have side gigs now where they have sex parties.
It's a
They
criminal
charge.
enterprise now, according to this
Yeah,
standard.
it's weird as hell. It's just making.
Yeah, he's making stuff down.
If you're doing a party where people make money for sex, you're running
No,
a
that's
criminal
totally
enterprise.
different. Are you buying
How so?
prostitutes? Are you bringing prostitutes?
Is money being exchanged for sexual favors? That's people have gotten arrested in orgies before. This is true. I don't know why y'all don't want to hear this.
I guess it's on that state. I know in Atlanta they have clubs where they actually have orgies in those clubs.
They have them all over the United States, but
yeah, it's legal in Georgia to have a sex party. It's illegal to bring a prostitute to buy a female and have
legal
sex.
to profit off of a sex party.
Well, it is legal in Georgia.
But there's sex clubs in San Francisco.
They need to raise some CEOs base pay because if they have to do that as a side gig,
those sex clubs have
or either
prostitutes.
drive, you're talking over me, or drive Uber or some shit like that. I have never heard of anything like that. A CEO has to rent a room and charge to do sex parties. What's the whole point of charging if your wives and shit is there?
You gotta cover for the cost. You cover for the cost of the hotel.
You're a CEO. What's the CEO of what? Of Williams Car Wash and Sean business?
Yeah.
The owner of the local bodega.
Listen, I'm not trying to
making up. I know, they're making up stuff.
Lisa, you drunk again.
No,
bitch,
you got one more time.
I don't drink. Okay, let's get that. But you still high from when you're fucking CEO.
I didn't take my first
Don't
day.
ever accuse me of consuming
Listen,
shit.
I'm not saying nothing controversial. People all over of all walks of
You
life.
are lying.
People of all walks of life do this shit. It's just I'm telling you a very poorly kept secret that this happens every weekend at every hotel. If you work at a hotel, you know that this shit happens every fucking weekend. There's nobody that works in the hotel services community that doesn't know that this happens.
All right. So Dr. Articulate, so are these people being coerced, right? Are these people being blackmailed?
Well, the main reason that I don't do parties like this anymore is because sometimes they are.
Well, then it's legal. That's illegal.
Sometimes that's my point. So all of those people should get
Okay, so I looked it up, right? So it says the difference between sex parties and prostitution. There's no direct payment for sex acts. At most sex parties, including hide-in or swinger parties, people pay an interest-free membership dues or event costs, but not directly for the self itself.
Ocha Queen Patty of your Excalibur of your Highness. I had heard a little bird that flew in and Crip walked and told me a couple days ago that they had little Oompa Loompa doors up in that bitch in some of the rooms. Trap doors. Ain't that about a bitch? Allegedly.
Where
And cameras.
Oh, in
There you go. No, in the hotels.
Oh, hotels? I don't know. I've never worked in a hotel, but Dr. Articulate has, so he can speak on that.
I've worked in a hotel. I've just been to a couple of orgies here and there. But Diddy got found guilty for the prostitution as he should have. It goes hard because everything else is a fucking sex party.
Yeah, but at the same time, he should have really also been convicted of any type of aggravated prostitution because there were coercion. There was a lot. People who were coerced into doing this. Let's just keep it real. And the fact that the jury didn't think so, even though the evidence said so, even though eyewitness testimony said so, that's what's amazing.
Thank you for observing and noticing. My happy
gotta
day.
be happy she got her money, man. She deserved the money. She
Y'all
got the money. She deserved it. I'm proud of her.
Oh, that nigga that still might get 20 years just because he dodged Rico?
My bad, I didn't know y'all heard me say all
In the
that
same
shit.
breath, you and him, everybody on this motherfucker make more money than the fucking Elon Musk on this motherfucker.
But is it worth
Dick State Jones bust 5 nuts in a row on this motherfucker.
$1 million fortune in his name and his
yeah, but you won't. He done turned down all the tens.
Just pray for everybody, y'all. Pray for
Yeah,
everybody.
you like.
Y'all, hello?
Yeah, so So all I'm saying is there was more to this case, and I get why the RICO was presented, and unfortunately it suffered. It basically suffered. So
Royal, do you know this is the first RICO case that the district has lost?
Makes sense.
Teflon. He's about to be a legend in the red pill community. These women beaters are about to fucking have a rap shirt over Diddy. The prostitution elevate is true. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's the down.
You know what? Queen Lisa, go ahead. I'm sorry. We just wanted to welcome everybody welcome to Politically Correct. Community continues to enable this. We have back to you. Have a beautiful day. What's like?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Ashton.
Hope y'all doing good. Hope y'all doing good and enjoying the summer. It's great out here right now. 83 degrees. I'll take that. It's better than 103. Go swimming. Enjoy life, everybody. It's summertime. Time to have fun. Get out and celebrate life. That's what I'm doing.
Ashton, you know it's hot as hell in Texas right now. 255 degrees. Do y'all got some type of like outfits to keep the heat? You feel me? It's hot in Texas, right?
We have a multi-million-dollar pool down the street. You can go use that. There you go. So, there's no end in pools here. They're building them all the time or in resorts. Go ahead.
I don't know. I personally think, and I said this earlier, I think the RICO, it was just a hard case to prove, right? I think a lot of evidence, KK testimony certainly would have helped. I think the guns not being part of the case, that certainly helped Diddy a lot, right? He had all these guns in his different properties. They were scratched off the serial numbers. I personally thought the freak off was a different thing, and this is what I get for listening to Jaguar Wright, because the freak offs that she was describing were sex parties. So I never thought, I just thought this case was gonna be go differently.
Wait, what did you think the freak offs were?
It was a different floor in the party, and that's where it was like group sex. That's what I thought a freak off. And then he was reporting people without their consent and using that to blackmail people. That's how I thought that's what this case was about. Right? Because he had all these videos of people. He had hundreds of videos, if not thousands.
Yeah, what happened to those?
Unless.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why that didn't get brought up. And what I said, and I said this a couple days ago, I was like, the worst case scenario is that he's guilty of prostitution, which arguably prostitution is legal in at least one state, right? So you're spending millions of dollars, taxpayer money.
But there's specific rules about.
No, 100%. Yeah, that I understand. But I just feel like it's not something. I don't know. It's not.
They overcharge because
prostitution alone isn't worth pursuing.
They overcharge because he's a creep.
Yeah.
He's a creep. He probably was, remember he was in jail, still contacting people and doing bullshit. He was just arrogant as fuck, and they wanted to get him, and they overcharged, but they didn't have the
witness tampering. I thought he'd be guilty of that too. To be honest with you, I thought the extortion and the witness tampering, I thought that was to be proven, but I guess,
Diddy got all the charges? He beat the case? Because I didn't know he beat the case.
He got convicted of charges. But the biggest charge is he was found not guilty.
Yeah, he beat a RICO charge, but he could still get 20 years. So I mean, I don't think he's out of the woods yet. But the minimum he could get is 2 years or 20.
But they're saying because he's a first offender, and I'm having problems with this. He's a first offender, that he's going to get the low end of the
That's what
sentencing
the
guidelines.
guidelines are. So judges
That's why
have
it says
in the
sentencing
state
guidelines.
guidelines that are based off of, you know, how much other stuff you've done previously. Some states they do a pretrial, what they call it, pretrial investigation, where they even are looking
I'd rather be me than you, and that's on any good or bad day. Have a good day. Sorry about that, y'all. Ain't that about a bitch?
I don't know what that was, but yeah. So anyway,
No, that wasn't nice.
they have a score.
Your mother said, your mother's a fan and beautiful.
Oh, true.
Just want to let you know that. She's beautiful.
Keep it in the chat. If it's in the chat, keep it in the chat. Good gracious. Yeah, they'll have a score, and then based on that score, there's a guideline for what the judge. But the judge can do whatever they want within the law of the. But that's what the guidelines are.
Wait, so the judge does not have to follow the
They
guidelines?
don't have to follow the guidelines. They don't.
Yeah,
They can't. They're
Lisa, can you
sentencing-
type a cover letter so you can send that to the judge,
I'm
please?
pinging
Thank you.
his ass in here right now.
Now their sentence can get overturned so that's why I was saying, like, this judge, I mean, if they go all the way to the max, I mean, they can say why and all that stuff, but it can get overturned if they don't follow the guidelines. But but they can make their own choice.
I just want to let y'all know that the first man on Clubhouse that I see that's standing on business is Albert. Yeah, he's holding the men accountable, and I just want to let y'all know that. Thank you.
What does that mean? How do you go?
On how they're acting in regards to Diddy being free. He's the only one that's standing on business. Yeah, he has a remote right now, so I'm listening.
How are they acting? Are they being, mischievous or what? What are they saying?
Some of them are woman haters, and they just want it to get off because we just hate women, and that's who they're talking about. Me personally, I don't want to see anybody get convicted of something that they did not prove. I'm sorry. Because I feel like it's a slippery slope, and next thing you know, they'll be sending me to jail for some shit that they didn't prove. I don't want that. That's just me.
But we don't want men hating women. I don't know the details of all. I mean, a lot of dudes, they sleep with women, so why would you then
But they don't
hate
like
the
them.
very thing you sleep with?
But they don't like them. A lot of times it's because their mom was a fucked up person. Sometimes it's just because they have a small brain and a small penis. But it's a lot of them like that.
I don't have no dude talking about he gonna hate me. Dude tell me you hate me, you gonna be up out of my house and a plane ticket to DFW airport out of my face. I don't want to be around no dude that say, oh, I hate you, but I'll sleep with you, but oh, I hate you. What the crap? No woman should ever function under that dude.
Don't say enough. I think I gotta say it more. Black women, leave these niggas the fuck alone.
Y'all can just listen, please.
Don't let no motherfucker shaming you into not being with nobody. If you die alone, you did it for the better.
Is that true?
No, this is Albert. Send audio.
Your life's not worth fucking with a nigga like this. His paycheck ain't enough, sis. His money ain't enough. Stop entertaining shit you can do yourself. If you want to go to SDK, you pay for it. Fuck it. Take you and your girls out to eat, man.
How he get on the women? I thought you said he was holding the men accountable.
It's deeper than money.
It's working.
He's telling the women don't fucking deal with these motherfuckers.
Because I really don't understand.
Get on the damn men.
How come the history of women
Y'all be crazy.
Well, the room be going on for a while.
Queen?
Get
is why sympathy for Diddy. So they were speaking on the men. They just speaking on to the women now because obviously the room is packed with women.
Let a nigga counter you on some fucking bread.
The men ain't gonna come here.
Pussy for money.
Pussy for money, nigga. Oh, excuse me.
Sweet Pea, can you mute up for me, Sweet Pea? Oh, that's Carla.
Damn.
No, that's not Carla.
Sorry, please, I'm at work. I'm sorry.
Oh shit, you got two, girl. Don't be fucking with me like that. I was just about to do you like this.
I got a question. This is a professional environment where we do work, but where did the sets come from? Where that at? I didn't know they had another room somewhere in the office. Really? Oh my God, I didn't look. Handle your business, do your thing, bro. I'll see you back after your lunch. Or assistant. Allegedly, excuse me.
Oh, you paying this guy in, this guy?
I love y'all. Okay.
Coming from you, the things that you said, because it's coming from a place, but I really wanted to say, I want to thank you for that. I'm hoping the women heard you, because when I said I'm just a bitter old woman who's trying to stop them from getting married, that's that thing where they tell me, Mr. She doesn't want y'all to get married. She wants her ass to be lonely. That ain't what I said. And, but I just want to thank you, seriously, for your words today, because you think about it. And I couldn't even see, I refused to watch the video. I think when they first showed that video, or when I saw the first hit, I turned it off, because I just didn't need that in my psyche. I couldn't take that. I couldn't look at it. And so, for people, the justifications of the beatings is so profound and crazy to me. But you just said some powerful words, so I just wanted to personally say thank you.
I appreciate it. I do. I don't minimize the edification. But to be honest, Mr. O'Gray, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't need to be thanked for this shit. This is a humanistic thing to do. All of us should hold charge to be treating ourselves as human beings first before anything. That's why I despise all this gender shit, man. That's below my pay grade. I'm a child of God. I'm too fucking intelligent to get caught up in shit like that. I gave birth to 3 young gods. I don't do chicken business. I fly with eagles, yo. I don't argue about no fucking gender. I'm not worried about a chick leading in tandem with me. A woman that's going to reflect me, she's going to be a leader. I don't want no broke panhandling woman. Because that's a reflection of the man that I am. I'm too intimidated to share my leadership with my mate.
Big Dr. Goddess over here.
What? If I make $1 million, she got half of it. Matter of fact, she got more of it than me because I may fuck it up. What the fuck we talking about? It's all this submissive ass bisexual shit. Weirdo shit. I want to hang with niggas all day. Who don't want a beautiful woman that respects you? Don't you know that you're going to be elevated off the top? Off the top. A woman is...
He sound like he listening to Fat Joe and Big Pun in the back.
Nigga.
I'm going to...
Where y'all find these people?
The create our own spaces, girl. We do our own shit, blah, blah, whatever the shit y'all do. Do you know what would happen? Do you know what would happen to social media if women disengaged from this gender war shit? Do you think them niggas would sustain anything without y'all to bounce off of?
Nope.
And talk crazy shit too? Kevin Samuels was an old nigga with a red bull until he humiliated a black woman on screen. That nigga he was in the Toyota with them thick ass Harry Potter glasses. Then he brought the longest presence in the place, and then the nigga blew up. So what happened? Broke niggas emulated that nigga.
What did you say?
Harry Potter glasses.
Taking a nigga with a red bull trying to get his old dick up.
He said it again. He took Viagra.
I'm so it's just so funny that you say that. I was speaking to my little brother, Lil Mike.
You would think the way Albert is speaking that he got 3 daughters and not 3 sons, right?
There's this woman that he really admires, that he really likes. He thinks she's beautiful. And,
anyway.
Yeah, my thing is, Mel, we can talk all day. And being a only girl with, my 5 brothers, let me tell you something. And having 2 boys, these lessons need to be taught by men. And I appreciate any man who stands up and points out, the wrong and the harm and the injustice and the disrespect and the battery, all the things that were cast upon these women. It just is refreshing because I'm sick and tired of hearing us all day, all night, trying to defend or trying to make it clear what happened was not correct. And you don't have to be a fucking brain scientist or anything else to know that what was happening under this man's roof. It's under his house, yes, of course it is. But you can do shit under your roof and get arrested for. You can do things to your wife, to your kids, to your daughters, or whatever, and get arrested for. And I'm hoping that what my daughter gets out of this is that any man who's going to touch you or do anything to you that you feel like is out of your scope of morality, comfort, or whatever words you guys want to put in there, that she speaks up immediately and not just let this go on and on for whatever the reason, because there's a lot of mental health also involved in this. It's just not no woman being greedy for money, because you would do anything for money. You would have somebody pee in your fucking mouth for money, and you say, yeah, that's on you. That's on you. But once, I'm just hoping that, more men speak on this. Is that's what's going to make a move the needle here, is men speaking on it, instead of us women always having to be up here rah-rahing and caping and shit. We get called all kind of names for trying to have self-respect and decency. So, I don't know.
Queen Lisa, I'd like to interject to say, this woman, this queen, melanated sister, she got on her YouTube and said she was just so excited, like she's smiling and just, excited. She said, I'm here in Dubai, and I got shitted on, and I got paid $100,000. I'm like, she's smiling and shit. I'm like, okay, okay. But, we can't knock nobody for what they do, you feel me? But if that's her prerogative, that's her prerogative. Uh-huh. I said we can knock you for that one, though.
We're having
ain't that about a bit?
Have a bowel movement on you. And we, as a society, flush it down the toilet, and then we wipe ourselves, and then we wash our hands with antibacterial, and then we spray stuff in the bathroom because we don't want other people to know. So now we get to the point now that we're coming on social media and we're bragging about having human fecal waste. Whatever. You guys got it. It's an individual preference. I get it.
And furthermore, Queen Lisa, if we were to go into the actual scientific and environmental agricultural standpoint of shit, doesn't shit grow the food that we eat? The food that we eat come from shit?
Plant ultra.
Oh my bad, I'm sorry. The only thing that didn't come from shit was the concrete road. We don't know how that concrete broke through the fucking concrete.
But they don't use human. Come on, bro. Come on, man. They don't use human biological waste to process our food. They use cow manure and other things like that. Go pick it up.
What other species Ashton shit on each other?
The cows don't do that.
On somebody as a sign of affection and a sexual attraction. Just help me out.
I don't know.
You've been making excuses for everything, for the fucking devil.
Ashton.
No, I'm telling you the truth. Cows don't. You use cow manure. We don't use human. I don't understand where that came from, but brother, that is horribly embarrassing. If someone is proud on YouTube to have that happen to them. I'm in my 40s. I think that is unbecoming. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. That's just horrible.
Ashton, furthermore, to explain, I think he's in Japan or China. They were able to. They were able to convert shit into meat products and shit. Did that make shit? Isn't that shitty meat? So never mind. But that isn't. I think it's in China or Japan. One of those countries are
And how reliable? What, brother? You can put it into. No one is going to go for that here in the United States.
Bro, but not eating shit. Like that didn't help.
Absolutely, no, that's crazy. Crazy. I didn't know that Diddy, the trial, it was going on today. I've been real busy and stuff, and man, so what charges did he, I guess, avoid or things like that? I also asked for bail.
Murdering Tupac. He's avoided it so far.
Huh? Murdering. Bro.
I'm just I can't wait till next year when that trial happens. Then we're gonna really talk about this Tupac murder. This dude is behind the Tupac murder. Literally Tupac in Cuba. And I believe it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He pushed a bill. I gotta check it out. I gotta find a link. Everybody wants the links. That if a celebrity has faked their death, they will be able to come back into society without having repercussions or being harassed. It's like a bill for them to protect them. So like if Marilyn Monroe came back, Tupac came back, Left Eye came back, and you're like, wait, that's Left Eye, didn't you? You know what I'm saying? So they have a protective clause, a bill that he pushed.
Dr. Goddess, you back? You tired of running the streets?
Shaba.
Dr. Goddess.
I don't know what's going on, y'all, but it's a sickening. I don't know how much more I can take.
So I have two sons and I have a daughter. So I talk to them separately and collectively about this because I look at it from the son's point and domestic violence and cool. I don't even let them hit their sister back. That's just not my thing because I want to teach that to them early. But then on the other side, I told my daughter to look at the cash situation, the comments she's made, and the way you can get caught up. And I told her, I said, none of that is worth it. Have your own, do your own. You ain't got to rely on nobody else.
Oh, did you guys cover that they're cutting food stamps? That should be the topic.
That was in the bill, right?
That should be every room on Clubhouse because you know how many people. Never mind.
There are millionaires on the Clubhouse. It's not going to affect them.
I looked at that on the screen a few minutes ago, and I was like, "There's no rooms on there cutting food stamps."
No, they too busy. They too busy up Diddy's ass.
Because they think Diddy gonna be paying for their food, huh? Okay.
That's crazy.
The medication.
You know what their expectation is when they cut these food stamps, right? So the state is going to cover what the federal government doesn't cover. So you know what that means. The state taxes are going to go up. Or
so basically, federal's going to put half and state's going to put half?
No, so if the state, whatever the state cuts, whatever the federal government cuts when it comes to SNAP benefits, they're expecting the state to cover it.
To put the difference.
Yeah. So if your state doesn't put the difference, you'll just be hungry and you'll get robbed. And my recommendation to all you that are on food stamps and you're hungry, rob a MAGA. Look for the stickers they have on their car. Look for their front yard.
Yeah. Yo, we going
going to Matt's house first. You know what? If you get food stamps, hit me in my back channel. We're gonna go to. I'm gonna take you to Matt's house since he already gave me his information. Then I'm gonna take you to Trent's house since Trent gave me his information.
What you say?
Rob them, y'all.
The address. We going over there because they got money.
We ain't do it till you did.
And you know what? If we get there, they just got a few animals outside like cows. I'm stealing those bitches. Fuck that. That's food right there.
That paid us, but still, I don't know.
I don't want your dog. I want a cow.
Rob Matt, not us. We didn't vote for this shit.
Where we going?
We were saying when they cut the SNAP benefits, and if you're hungry, because what's gonna happen is the state's gonna have they're giving it back to the state, right? So pretty much whatever the state doesn't cover, state says they don't want to raise taxes or they don't want to take away from other areas so that they can give you these benefits that you need. Then you need, when you get hungry and you want to rob somebody, don't come to us. We didn't vote for this shit.
You're right. It's called fight. Go ahead. Fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. What is the fight or flight, everybody? Go ahead. What up, Queen? Fight or flight is your animalistic that
and if you in Delaware, we going to Steve's house.
Did you guys
I was calling on all four ladies in Delaware.
Mel, you and Patty, do you guys
We got Ashton, we got Trent, and Matt. But we said we're going to the MAGA. Ashton is not a MAGA. So we hit it off the MAGAs.
But do you guys know there are 42.1 million Americans on food stamps?
Yeah.
42.1. That is crazy.
No, 42 million of y'all need to show up at Matt.
That's not bad.
Oh, my bad.
42 million has 300 million people here. 330.
Yeah. I've been in Clubhouse too long. I thought everybody was a millionaire. That's what I thought. Shit.
Did y'all hear about the Black Card EBT program coming out?
No.
You can swipe your EBT card with ease without being judged. If there's those type of people that are like, oh my God, they see me with the EBT card.
Did you guys see that that federal judge rules that President Trump must reopen border access?
Did you change the name now?
Is that old?
No, I didn't see that. But
No, that's new. That's new, Mel.
Oh, okay.
The Great Wall of America.
I ain't signed that.
I'm gonna put the link up on top. Hold on.
And also introducing EBT for pets.
I just got it, but I know sometimes I get late notifications, so that's the link up on top. Somebody gotta keep that.
Anybody coming to my show tonight, please make sure that you have your invite tickets, Evite tickets on your phone. I'm doing a show tonight to premiere some songs from my holiday album and my 90s Money album tonight. So wish a brother to break a leg, because I broke a leg before, and I sure don't want that to happen again, but it figurative, you know what I'm saying? Metaphorically speaking, show me some love, and I'll let y'all know how I go. What's like? Love y'all.
Oh my God.
We don't understand, bro.
The same these conversations we can.
Hey, you guys.
That's why it's
I'm trying to say I had to leave earlier when Man Titty was here.
Oh, okay.
He was talking too loud.
Oh my God.
So the congressman that from Mississippi, the black guy, I can't call his name.
Benny Thompson?
Yes. So if this bill passes, there's 4 hospitals in his district that will close. People who need care would have to. The closest hospital is about 100 miles away.
So the Senate put in a $50 billion support fund for rural hospitals. So they did get that in to help hedge against that sort of.
That's
Wait, what? That's a consolation prize, huh?
How much money, Debbie?
Oh, I don't have a money figure, but there's going to be 4 hospitals to close.
No, he said that they put in some money.
There's a $50 billion fund. The Senate created a $50 billion fund to support rural hospitals.
But why would you do that instead of just not cutting? And that's weird. Okay.
Right, because
it doesn't bridge the whole thing, because the shortfall is going to be about 119 billion, right? So they hedged about, I guess that's about 45% of that number.
Well, rural counties are the ones that voted for this shit, so they get what they voted.
Well, they didn't vote for this, though, specifically, though, Pat.
Yeah, but they voted for this president, so you get what you voted for.
Right. Half the time it's an ugly nigga with orange hair. What y'all ugly ass niggas up to?
What your ugly ass doing? Big head nigga.
Just trying to relax.
Oh, big head ass. What's going on?
Right. I know you. Don't do that.
you came with the body. I'm just meeting you. I mean, where you are. What's going on with you?
Listen,
Where
I
you
like
been
you too.
at? You good?
Yeah, I'm super good.
You got your tongue? You tied tongue. What's going on?
Wait. I was drunk earlier.
Oh, you was drunk earlier, so you
I sobered up.
You clean out. Okay. Cool things.
You know what I'm saying?
Alright.
I just got sobered up.
Okay. I'm sure. Well, how long it's been? About 3 hours?
Just 3.
3 minutes?
You know what? I might drink again. Fuck y'all.
I know that's right. Go ahead. Get yourself.
Oh Lord, why you? Y'all finna stop leaving the back door open already. That's why you let this crazy guy in here.
Right as hell.
Why you let this crazy guy in here?
I didn't touch the keys
with the door, please.
I didn't touch the keys. I didn't touch it.
Why y'all mad at me though?
Wait, I don't know why you're about your liver.
Alex, we worried about your drunk ass for the last 5 years. You've been drinking every day, 7 days a week, Mr. Houston, Texas.
Yeah, and 7 days a week.
There be morning time and you already slurring.
I mean, so what?
So what? Your liver.
Your liver, bro. Your liver.
T.O.T. Tell him to draw some labs on you, please.
Whatever. Drink. You need to drink some water.
I got water right here. I'm drinking.
I not only drink it, I insert it. This water been inserted in all my holes. Thing.
Wait a minute, you put water in your hose?
That's how you know you nasty.
And nobody said that I wasn't. So what else is new, Alex?
You asking for the smoke? This is Bruce. This Bruce.
Johnny's. This is
son.
Bruce. Okay, we can say Bruce's son. Yeah, I would say Bruce's son.
Who the fuck is Bruce?
Drunk Bruce? You don't know Drunk Bruce from that?
Hell no.
That's your daddy. That's your daddy.
Nah,
You drink liquor, he drinks beer.
That's why his breath stink.
How you know? Why you want to talk about your father like that?
That ain't my daddy.
Alex, I hope you still not out here getting pulled over.
Nah, I don't even have a car.
I know, because you got like 50 million DUIs. Why would you drive a car?
I don't have a D. I don't have. Listen,
Alex, I know you don't see my face right now. Tread lightly. Tread lightly. You got a few DUIs. Don't make me pull you up right now. You know I did that shit before. You better cut it out.
Listen.
Don't listen to Mel when she says she don't remember nothing. Because Mel remember. You understand?
Yo, oh my God, I seen a guy today, First Lady. He was in the goo. But my eyes were dilated and I couldn't read his name.
Right.
I'm like, I know that dude. He put sliced cheese on his pasta and he came up and he was like, yo, I still be doing that.
So
like,
what is that called?
What? All right, let's get back to you. Are you clear? Do you still have multiple DUIs, Alex?
No, let's ask him about Diddy. Ask him about Diddy.
Okay.
I'm not gay either. Let's be clear about one thing.
I didn't say he was gay. What gay? Why? He's not gay.
What did he got to do with this?
He said ask you about Diddy because, today, the verdict came through, not guilty.
I thought he was guilty.
He was guilty of everything, you think?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, that nigga.
You get a lollipop today. You get one lollipop just because you said that. You the first man to say it.
I ain't never fucked with that nigga.
That alcohol is doing you right.
Whatever. That's like your boots left to sleep.
Oh, man. I like to see my old clubhouse people sometimes. Don't come in here often.
Likewise. And you cute too.
You can't see me. I'm in black. You looking at Patty up there.
Don't look at me. Close your eye.
Not close your eye.
I'll tell you, he's looking at the women on top of it.
I'm not even looking at none of y'all.
Uh-huh.
Right.
He can't see right now.
I ain't looking. Listen, I look away from y'all.
What's that mean? Why you say that?
Good, y'all ugly.
You've been having the same PTR for 5 years. You never changed that shit.
And I still look better.
Yo, he's been rocking out the same PTR for the whole 5 years.
Right. Look, I still look better than all y'all niggas.
You don't even look like that no more. I bet you that alcohol got your face say.
Look. Do you wanna FaceTime me? Cause I still look like this.
Uh-huh.
I still look good. Don't play with me.
You think you look good, see? Because if you don't see the beauty in us, then I know you can't see the beauty in yourself.
I don't see the beauty in you.
That's my point. There's something wrong with you.
Yo, when y'all tired of drunko, y'all know what to say.
I'm lying. You beautiful.
Thank you, dear.
A little bit.
We all know you drunk.
A little bit.
He be drinking Henny and he be drinking Remy.
A little bit.
He mixing.
Stay away from alcohol, guys.
You don't have nothing.
Oh my God. And what happens?
Him sober.
I bet you can't spell prostitute.
Look, I gotta act these doing these for real.
Let me ask a question. I can done it.
Hold on.
What if he get acquitted? What if? Is this a possibility, right? I never thought it'd be like this either. I thought the RICO was gonna stick, to be honest.
Nah, that RICO got dismissed.
Right? Because it seemed like
He thought it was gonna stick.
so we really don't have control of what the answer gonna be.
I mean, honestly, he already got the worst case scenario was the RICO. So now he on easy street.
He's talking to you next.
Such semantics. We had no control over this case to this point. No matter how we felt personally about He paid his lawyer. Anything else? What if he's free? One day. What's next?
How's he gonna be?
Because what about the
No, he's talking to them because the way the men are toiling.
You just take
what's that?
You just take the I don't have anything to do with that man. He get out, he live his life, whatever else the case may be, he will forever be despicable in my sight. The legal court, judges, is one thing, the court of public opinion is completely different. I don't stand by anything that man did or how deviant he was about going about it. That is the type of man that he is. You simply take note of those people and move around them. Don't pay him no ear, no attention. Period. And anybody that agrees with anything that man does is because they see themselves in him. Period. Is it Jasmine? And if they were in the same situation, they would love to get on. Those are the people who are celebrating. People who are just like him. His group. Period.
This room is saying why is there any sympathy for Diddy?
For Diddy, we need to stop destroying. Oh man, we need to stop destroying her.
We gotta troll for
Uncle Caleb. I ain't heard from you, man.
Oh, he's another one that drinks. Uncle Caleb.
And Miranda, I want to hear from you too.
They were on my Apple on this.
Miranda, you there?
Oh man, what we gonna do?
Let me get in there.
It's only Wednesday. Damn, I thought today was Friday.
Yeah. Alright. How you doing today,
Smokey Robinson's case popping off, and
I don't know. Have we heard anything about that?
That's what I'm. Well,
I think they're gonna pay all that shit off. I don't think anybody's gonna. That one been silent too.
Come on, y'all. You know we need some more. We need another hit.
All I've been seeing is Diddy. Every time I scroll, I don't see nobody else.
We need another hit.
And I know those people are happy that Diddy was going through what he was going through.
Thrilled.
Yes, because they don't like to be in the front.
But he's thrilled that this was going on with him. So, all quiet. But now it's their turn. They're up because there's nothing else going. Next, it's like.
On the women in my family, I gotta be willing to go to jail or die for that. There is no gray area. There's no negotiation. There's no let me hear you out. When I come looking for you, I already know. Well, I'm just gonna do that time, but you're not putting your hands on my family, yo. I'm gonna beat her, kicked her in her face, and dragged her down the hallway, bro. Before we even get into the white man's court, before we get into that, how do you feel about that? I feel like, all right, man, I don't feel like it's right to hit a woman, man, to be quick to hit on a woman, but I gotta say this too, man, we really don't know what she did to him. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, that's it. I can't.
This is the whole
The whole 2 minutes that we watched, she didn't even put a pinky on him.
I don't care.
This is the room that's going on right now. And the topic is why sympathy for Diddy, and top left is a man.
Something happened.
And he's wondering, like, what's wrong with these men that they are putting sympathy for Diddy?
Right? And it wasn't from a man, it was from a woman. And she did.
But this is how I observe men on how they think. Not that I need to, because I got a husband.
One of my ladies,
but I have 3 daughters.
Like I said, touch my
and if a man speaks like this, that's how they raising their son. I don't give a fuck what nobody says.
For the second breeze, those are men. See, what's gonna happen is
they're males, yes.
So you're gonna have men that are coming.
But those males are raising daughters.
Yeah, I don't.
And they're raising sons, and these sons.
Everybody not gonna agree with what you.
You never know, right? They could be around your kids. You never know.
Because listening, you learn a lot. Not listening to what somebody say.
Because every state has men that speak like this, right? So whatever state you're in, your daughter can run up by their sons.
Okay,
or vice versa.
But all I'm saying, we really don't know what really happened that led to that. Like you just said, if somebody put their
And let me tell you something. We lucky that we got that video. Because if there was not that video, These men would have been on this app talking about Diddy has never put his hand on a woman before. If that video didn't come out.
So let me ask you a question here. Let me ask you a hypothetical question here. What
He would never put his hand on a woman. He had 3 daughters. How dare you say that about that black man?
Run off with some money, do something in my face, try to,
What is the something? You described the something in detail.
What do you mean?
You said she did something in his face, like what?
Oh, I don't know. Let's do something extreme. She threw some glass at my face or threw some she put my life in danger where I had to, I react. It was a reaction. You know what I'm saying? He probably went a little bit overboard, but we don't know the ins and outs of this shit. Like I said, because we wasn't there, we didn't see what he was doing, but we don't know what provoked that and caused that. That's all I'm.
Okay, so what you're saying is more to that story right there.
Absolutely.
So why do you think the hotel was willing to pay Cassie $10 million for something that had more to do to it? Why didn't he just risk it like Diddy did and go to court?
Why the hotel was willing to pay Cassie all that money?
Yeah.
Because it's all about leverage, like I said. Once you're in the entertainment industry,
but the hotel is in it. What you mean?
I know, but whoever's in the industry can pull a string. They puppet man. They probably had connections at the hotel. City officials. You don't know how deep their war chest is. They probably made a call and made his life a little bit miserable after that. So.
Okay. So now, because you said that, now see him. Did you come off the mic?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just asking a question. Did in fact it come out that he tried to pay for the actual tape not to be released?
He did.
Yeah.
This is
What? Paid not be released.
What?
Don't have faith to a certain extent in our men.
First lady, what you say?
No.
I didn't understand.
No, Breeze. I don't want to do that.
They got another drunk on.
I don't want to talk about not having faith in me.
No, that guy came out and said, didn't they? He paid them to not have the video released.
I'm tired of getting talked. I don't want to talk to any women that's gonna come in here and tell me how they don't like men. I really don't. Like, respectfully, I don't. Because that's not me. That motherfucker don't represent me. He's nothing like me. There's plenty of me out here. And we respect our women. From my mother's own down, I don't give a fuck about no trifling nigga. Because, respectfully, in the same breath, I see a lot of you women on the stages with the same nigga. Playing with that nigga. So your actions got to be a lot more powerful than your statements at this point. You got to preach what you practice.
Amen.
Well, if that was the case, I would not see these weirdo motherfuckers with a room packed full of women trying to cackle and argue with a bitch. So evidently clout matter. You're not coming on my stage to try to fit and you feel like fitting. Nah. If you're not fucking with them niggas, don't fuck with them. That's on you. I don't want no more niggas representing me or a motherfucker like Curtis or a motherfucker like him. No niggas that's actually out here doing real shit for women, respecting women. I'm not them niggas. But I don't do therapy for free. You pay me by the hour, goddammit. You're not coming on my stage for therapy sessions about no bitches. Nah. You don't fuck about no niggas and no men and shit. You want to be a feminist, do that shit on your time. You don't like niggas, you don't like niggas. How the fuck do that get lost in the fact that we got a group of men that's reacted to this shit like it's cool and talking about, well, what about, and what if, and how because, and what did well, we need to think about it, and whoop-de-wham. We see, hold on, let's put our thinking caps on. Let's think about it. You're not thinking about it when you're fucking, nigga. Now everybody want to be Malcolm X. Sojourner Truth. They want to, put them suits on that Curtis be wearing and shit with them tight ass civil rights ties and shit.
Curtis, collateral damn.
I had to throw a shot. I love her. That's my bro. $50 right now. Just pay me money. $50. Okay, come on, this motherfucker.
Who changed the topic? I'm gonna
Some of the women that say that right now.
Not crazy.
Gonna be supporting these whole ass niggas. The same niggas that say Cassie deserve it, off with her head, she should get 25 and a half years. Fuck that bitch and all that shit. Oh, goddamn it, the white man has bamboozled Diddy. And oh my God, the white man. And it's a conspiracy against all drug dealing white black men. All this other shit. But they gonna be right at here, boy. You so witty. All that, you gonna be doing that shit.
One time.
Come on now, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 1,000. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it motherfucker. Come on now, man. Most of the time when niggas act ignorant on stages in this motherfucker, it's cause the crowd like seeing that shit. If a motherfucking name in the title, guess who coming, Curtis? The motherfucking crowd. Yeah. I wanna see a motherfucker embarrassed. Yeah, they already dox a nigga. Can't wait to see that. Yeah. And then the chat and shit, amping a nigga up. So let's come on, man. Let's cut the crap. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like at some point, man, we gotta have a balanced fucking conversation like grown people, man. You know what I'm saying? I know niggas ain't shit. I'm a nigga. I grew up around niggas. I just chose not to be the nigga that wasn't shit. Everybody got the choice, you know what I'm saying? So if we gonna talk about the niggas, then bring the chicks on up in here who keep fucking them. Bring them motherfuckers up in here. Why they looking over the real women, the women that stand on business as women, and why they fucking on the scallywag hoes?
What's up, Albert?
Because I don't hear no women.
Oh no, Catalyst just came on stage.
I don't see no women going and having room saying, I'm not you, bitch. I'm not these hoes. I don't hear no women saying that shit. Motherfuckers get real quiet and extra muted. The mute button's stuck. It's up and it's stuck. But when it's, if any niggas, if any motherfucker say anything.
What happened, First Lady?
I said extra muted as well.
See? Yeah. Them niggas ain't shit. Tell them, Dr. Albert. Dude, Dr. Albert, you're so intelligent. But it's gotta be, for every nigga that's ridiculous, it's a nigga that's a bitch sucking his dick.
Oh, Jesus.
Was that the
guy? Now let's not be stupid now.
With the men's thing?
Yeah.
The tree don't yield all the apples. Don't pick some of the apples now from the tree. Let's be
you ladies gotta do what I do. We gotta listen to these people on burners, okay? Fuck anonymous. The burner's not enough.
This is how we live, yo. Put the nigga like this on a pedestal.
Because these men are not only on this app, they out there in that world.
Minimize it. Black men will sell their soul for some fucking money, status, and power. That's what it's
sure about doing. You see how he's
money, status, and power. Which makes him a weak bitch. You're an agent provocateur. You can't be a black man in my words. I don't trust you, nigga. Because that means that white motherfucker throw that money up in the air and you'll sell me and everybody else out. That means you wear the wires, nigga. Facts. This is the bottom line. And I'm gonna call any woman on it. That's that shit. All that leader, provider, protector, you tell that shit to a motherfucker that needs you. Men don't need women. We complement the women and we work together. I have no problem with a woman sharing leadership with me. I don't fuck with that white patriarchy shit. I don't fuck with it. I don't have to. Because regardless of racism, I found a way to walk my own walk in this motherfucker. Racism exists, but that ain't stopping me from going to get my motherfucking food. Take care of my family. I ain't got no reason to respect the black woman because she's the extension of the family. I'm not ashamed to represent the continent of Africa. My family came here through slavery. I'm not playing that ADOS FBA bullshit. None of that shit. That's some made up shit. I'm not ashamed of who the fuck I am. Fucking ex-pimp coming up with FBA. Ex-pimp. We still can't get past the paradigm. Now pimps coming up with ideologies for black folks to follow. Go fucking, you can't make this shit up. another ignorant nigga. You see how? I want y'all to see how many ignorant niggas show up, and they all men.
What?
This one is white. This was not a guy.
I'm right on here. Hey, that guy, bro, you said something earlier, a little bit earlier, and I think it's the biggest part about all of this. Like somebody said in the chat earlier, like fuck Dr. Fuck Diddy, because Dr. B said it, but fuck Diddy, we don't give a fuck about the case, this and the third, like, niggas, Diddy didn't stay out, is what it is. We don't have no, that's not paying our bills, but shout out to Dr. B because he said that. However, the point that you made, Dr. Albert, was, and it's what I keep telling women,
He came down to
to the people who are going to use this case to laugh in the faces of black women. Pay attention to the men who are going to throw this in your face and say, haha, this is why we don't believe y'all. This is why. You gotta, the content is always in the comments. Like when I'm looking at shit on Instagram, we don't know if it's real AI or a skit most times. But look in the comments and pay attention to those people who look like you, who live in your area, who some you might know, some you don't know. Some people you think you thought you follow because they cool, and then you see them in there, you know, talking a certain kind of way. That could be any piece of content. For this one in particular, pay attention to the men who are going to try to weaponize this and beat black women down. Some of these niggas are only happy because of, and Cassie ain't even black, but because a woman lost. They don't give a fuck if Diddy was black or not. Some, not all. Some of these niggas are only happy because a woman lost in court, allegedly. Right? Like you said, if we saw that video, I was listening to old boy explain the shit. There's no, in most states, you cannot, there's no justification for chasing somebody down a hallway, down to the elevator. I don't know if y'all remember the video. She was standing there by herself at first. Right? Like there's no justification. It don't matter what the fuck happened in the room earlier. She tried to take that nigga life or whatever. That you know, like I get that type of shit. We always want to go to the extremes, but you chased her down. Pay attention. This is where the content is in these responses, these room titles, these shares.
That's
Blocklists are growing.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You're right on target, Kai.
So, mama.
It's all in the response.
You went to the car.
That speaks to the core. That speaks to what you are inspired to do at any given moment. That's the core right there. And so when we get into these constructs called genderism, what the fuck that got to do with black ontology? Some fucking genderism. We deal in soul, spirit, ethnicity. We don't deal in no motherfucking skin color. When did black folks deal with skin color? When that shit was imposed on us as a disenfranchisement. So we've internalized what our oppressive behavior.
Y'all gonna talk to me now? So I can stop playing this? Or y'all gonna go to sleep?
Yeah, no, we're there. Sorry.
That's how white supremacy works.
Don't count on me. Oh, does he?
The Z ends with a Y, and so does Sleepy. So, Sleepy.
Gotcha. I mean, everyone has different opinions. We're definitely, you know, not 100% consensus in here, but yeah, I think we will see what the judge says, right?
Well, that's what I'm about to say. So, what's the conversation around possibly what he can get for this? I heard y'all saying something about 10 years or something.
Minimum 2, maximum 20.
That's not what they said earlier, though, Sid. I thought Judge Mathis said 21 to 27 months for first offenders.
Judge Mathis?
Yeah. He said
but he's not the determining judge.
But he said that's typically what first offenders get. So
I'm just giving the minimum and the maximum.
You do realize if you add those months up, you're right about 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years min.
That's why she
Yeah, well-
said 2 years minimum.
Yeah, but it's just that when you end up saying 2 to 20 years, like, it makes it sound like the 20 is really, like, possible, but in a scenario where it's a first-time offender, it seems like that's highly unlikely. That's all.
Wait, hold on. Wait, possible and likely are two different things we're talking about. It is possible. It might not be likely, but it's possible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it seems low on the possibility scale.
Sometimes after work, I just feel like y'all playing with me.
Once again, I said,
am I the only one?
Yeah,
the
the minimum and the maximum, and the judge can choose to say in between. He can go, he can do whatever he wants. He's not gonna do 21 years. No, it could be under 20, over 2. Yeah, so we won't know.
Mathis is not, I don't know about Judge Mathis on the credibility. Like, really?
Yeah, I don't trust Judge Mathis and Kamala, but I was just...
Judge Mathis is a federal.
Yeah, it's not that I'm saying he's credible, but his data point, which was first-time offenders typically get 21 to 27 months, that is an important detail. On precedent.
He is credible. Why do you say that? I ain't following Judge Mathis. That's like getting your information from A.
It's fine. It's fine.
That is not the same, but I'll mute her.
We'll see. 21 to 27 months is 2 years. Period. And we'll see what the judge decides. Now, would it be 2 years for each person? So, possibly 4 years?
Yeah.
it could be or it might not be. It could be consecutive or concurrent. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying the minimum is like around.
And this is the thing, when Judge Mathis is speaking, he's speaking based on what he was found guilty, right? But we know that the judge can do whatever he chooses to do. Example, let me give you a little example. The white kid that stabbed up the Mexican kid, right? They gave him the lowest charge, which was criminal homicide negligence, or negligence homicide, right? And for that, it was 6 months to 2 years. Guess what the judge did? The judge said, your sentence is 10 years. So that gives you an example right there, as the judge is doing what he chooses to do. And this judge can do the same. He can look at everything he has heard within the last 8 weeks and say, you know what? I don't think the jury did their job, right? And I don't think 2 years is enough for you. So I'm going to give you this. And it can be that. So we won't know.
Judges, and they have parameters, right? Like they have things that they can use to qualify a sentence. So, especially like with the federal sentencing guidelines, like he can qualify his sentence in a number of ways. But he just has to be within the mandatory. If there's a mandatory minimum, he has to be within that, and whatever the maximum is, he has to be within that. That's all.
It's the number one biggest moral question of the century. The park? Sorry.
You all were talking earlier about the Irish supporting Palestinians. Sinead O'Connor openly became Muslim, and then soon after, she didn't live very much longer after that.
Do you think a lot of people